if you're doing work that you don't really like that much most of the time, you're going to have less fun than if you're doing something that you actually enjoy doing. So as a result, you're actually more poor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because wealth is not just dollars in a bank account because you die. There's a guy named Felix Dennis that wrote a book called How to Get Rich that's like super like pretty Weasley, nasty book, but it's also a very important book to read. I don't agree with all the ethics in it, but it's a very important book to read. It's called How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. And what he says is that he's like, money's kind of a joke. Like, yes, I own this property, but I only own it till I'm dead. He was the owner of Maxim magazine. And he's mega rich. He literally calls $1 million a year comfortably poor at the back of his book. He has a chart of like how much money is what, and he calls $1 million a year comfortably poor. And so what he basically said was, look, you own something, but it's BS because you die. Well, guess what? Felix Dennis is dead now. He is dead now. Okay, great guy, but he's dead. So if you think about it, ask yourself, is what you're doing, even if you're making a lot of money out of it, unless you're actually having fun, then you'd have to do the math equation. If you did a math equation where you said to yourself, okay, I hate what I'm doing, but I can retire young. But the problem is you never will. You'll just keep saying that you will, and you'll kick the can down the road. That's usually what happens. Or I don't like what I'm doing right now, but I have enough time off that I can go do what I want to do. Then mathematically, that can begin to make sense. But in my mind, I realized like I'm probably not going to get to that point. So I said to myself, how can I build a life that's just fun? So I basically structured my life in a way where I wanted to make it as fun as humanly possible. Now, what that means is that I view fun as currency. So if I'm sitting there talking to a lawyer or an accountant and they don't want to joke around me, I view it that I'm being robbed. Okay, they're robbing me. If anybody wants to get serious with me, I view it that they're stealing from me. Okay? I would rather somebody goes and puts a tap on my bank and just drains it of cash than is boring. I never ever want to be bored, and I never not want to be having fun. Now, why is that? Because get out of the matrix for 2 seconds and go a little bit, use your ability for abstract thinking and just pull back a touch. You have a certain amount of hours and days and months and years to live, right? So how are you actually going to utilize those hours? You got to start to ask yourself that. Like, how are you actually fundamentally using those? And you need to actually sit down and do the math on this. If you're not joyful and happy and fulfilled with what you're doing for too many hours, then you're being robbed. Well, I hate to tell you guys this, but like a lot of your life is sitting on a toilet taking a crap. A lot of your life is taking a piss. A lot of your life is like lying in bed for half an hour waiting to fall asleep if it takes you a minute to get to sleep. I can usually sleep pretty quick as I've gotten older, but like, a lot of your life is that, right? Like, how many hours are you gonna spend showering? That's a lot of hours. If you do the math, okay, let's do the math on this. Okay, so if you're 30 years old and you live to be 80, that's 50 years, right? Who here has a calculator? Pull this out. I want to show you how I think about this. Okay, so you're 30 years old, and let's say that you're going to live to be 80. It's pretty generous, but we'll call it 80. You could even live to be 100. You could live to be 70. We'll call it 80. Okay, so on average, how long do you guys spend not only showering, but like drying yourself off and like walking to the shower, turning on the water, letting it heat up if you do warm shower, cold shower too, whatever, doing the actual shower, shampoo if you use it, whatever, get out and dry. What's the average time it takes to do that? Would you say 10 to 12 minutes?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Some people would say 3 minutes. You're faster. But let's call it to average 12 minutes, okay? Now, if you have 50 years to live, that's type in 365 times 12 minutes, okay? 365 times 12 minutes, okay? Then what I want you to do is, how much is that in a year that you're going to spend showering?
4,380.
Is that really what it is?
Yeah, 400, yeah.
44. That's 4,400 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now divide that by 60.
Times it.
Or sorry, what's that?
73.
Okay, so is that 73 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, now remember there's not really 24 hours in a day for a human because you're sleeping for 8 of that, okay? So now you're looking at 16 hours, okay? So divide that within the framework of, I don't know the exact way to do the math there, but divide that within a framework of 16-hour days. So you're at 73 hours. So that is, at a 16-hour day, that's something like 5 full days.
Yep.
Okay? So you're now looking, so if you don't enjoy your shower, that means that for 5 days, you weren't having fun. Okay? Now add to that taking a crap. Yes, my outlandish advice is to enjoy taking a crap. You came to a seminar. What's your advice, big bearded man? Enjoy taking a crap, okay? Now, when I say that, what I mean is this, okay? Now everybody after the seminar is like, right? So, but you're now looking at another, now that's 5, now, but really, like, let's even go a little bit deeper on that, okay? Now, we say that that's 5 days, 16 hours. But if you're working a job where for 8 hours a day, you're not doing what you want to do, and then you're commuting another 2 hours a day, you really only have 6 hours for free time. But then you've also got to eat and do other things, so you probably have about 3 to 4 hours of free time a day. So if we're going to calculate your discretionary time where you're really living and not maintaining your life at 4 hours a day, how many days is 73 hours? If we put that as 4 hours a day. That's basically the equivalent of 18 days that you're going to spend taking a crap, and another 18 days you're going to spend taking a shower. So see, you take that time for granted. You just kind of zone out, you disassociate. And look, that's fine.
Some people would feel lucky to have 4 hours a day too of discretion.
Yeah, some people, he said some people would be lucky to have 4 hours a day. So, others of us have more, others have less, but we're just giving approximations here, right? Just to show you my framework of thinking. So if I'm not, look, I'm not saying that I'm doing the Roomba while I'm taking a crap. I'm probably just sitting there present or listening to an audiobook, okay? But I'm just making the point that if you can't take some degree of enjoyment on that, that's being burned away. If you're gonna do 2 hours a day of commuting, that's being burned away. If you're sitting there in looking at numbers or doing math, like I said, a lot of me creating the free events was math. That's being burned away. So you've got to begin to look at your life and say, okay, well, where is this time going? So in my case, what I did was I said, okay, if I'm going to be burning down all this time, I'm spending a lot of time working, how can I design a lifestyle where I'm genuinely enjoying what it is that I'm doing? And I basically built my life like that. So most of my life, I centered it around, if you actually look at my life, it's kind of funny. Okay, would you trade for this life? And some of you would, some of you wouldn't. Okay, so I live in a fat mansion. By the way, don't pay for it. As a side note, that's a key thing a lot of people don't understand. You don't need to pay to live in a fat mansion. You're thinking way too limited. Build a social media profile. Just say, you got 7 bedrooms. Say, if one of you wants to come live here, pay the rent. How many of you guys right now, if Eckhart Tolle rented a fat mansion, and he said you could live here, just cover the rent, and you could just sort of pick up on the vibe that I got going on here and learn things, learn skills that you could make an ROI. Would somebody pay to do that? I'd pay to live at Eckhart's house. Eckhart tells me right now, cover the rent, and you can live at my crib for a month? Done. Done. Think of how many interesting people. So become an interesting person, and then just say, who wants to crash at the crib? Done. Okay? I also used to do $1 million per party parties and compete with Hugh Hefner for top party in all of LA. When he was alive. Now you hear this, I know you're thinking, oh, that's BS. There's videos of this. You guys look up the videos. They're posted. You'll literally see, giant, huge racks of freezers filled with lobster, giant, huge racks of freezers filled with steak, giant, huge racks of freezers filled with sushi, every single kind of crazy thing that you could think of, professional entertainers, whole entire setups done, living in a house that costs about $80,000 a month. If you want to see where I used to live, look up, look up Chet Hanks, the kid of Tom Hanks. There's a video called White Boy Summer. That's actually my old crib. He shot it there. I'm like, this can't be real. Okay? So look up that crib. There's other videos shot there too. We would also have them come shoot video. Again, we shot videos there with Ty Dolla $ign, Wiz Khalifa. All these guys came and shot videos at the house. How do you get an $80,000 a month house for free? Rent it and then give it for a day or two of video shoots, and people will pay you for a day for video shoots. Likewise, if you have a list of people that follow you, is somebody a multimillionaire? My old buddy was a guy that ran a $300 million a year revenue business. So I just said, you rent it and you pay for the party, I'll bring all the people. Done. Look, if you spent your whole life until your late 50s building a business, but you didn't get to have a party, you didn't get to have fun, and somebody like me, who's out all the time, and who knows everybody in LA, is going to bring all the people over, you're like, let's do it, we'll throw the party, right? Thinking outside the box. Get outside the box. If I want to go do a trip to Alaska that costs 50 or 100 grand, go shoot some videos. You see what I'm saying here, right? Go shoot some videos. So I just came back from, so let's look at my life. $1 million parties, giant mansions, crazy social life. I'm running some of the best parties in all LA. Then I basically just spent a ton of time learning about natural health, never get sick, have fun all the time. My version of work is traveling to Alaska with my family, making videos, and coming up to the front here and talking a bunch of crap to people, making weird jokes, having not shaved in months. Then I just continue to work on my social skills, so I bring in better and better people into my life. Continue to work on health so that I have more energy, don't get sick. And then work on the business to whatever extent, but I can afford to bring in the best people to help me. Right? You see where this is going? So what does my life look like? Okay, I got the pot belly to prove that I eat a lot of 5-star dinners. Probably should stop that. But still never got sick in 12 years. Okay, it's a lot of spago, dating, parties, travel, and going to audiences who thank me for doing it. And doing it for you for free. What do you think? Did I figure it out? Did I figure it out? I walk down the street and people go, you changed my life, thank you. Literally my life is just go out to parties, meet new people, constant pipeline of new people coming in my life, super fun, occasionally getting in a relationship with someone I like. Ski, I skied every major ski hill. Every single major ski hill I skied one season. All of them. I visited every national park. Almost or damn close to every national park, if not every national park, but damn close. Okay? So it's basically just like meditate, read, ski, party, talk a bunch of crap to the audience while they thank you for it, say how great you are, and then just win. It's just nothing but winning. Does that make sense? Just win. It's just nothing but pure winning. You just win and win and win and win. You say, Owen, I can't handle it. I can't handle winning anymore. And I will drag you over the line to win. Anybody know where that's from? No, that's an old school Trump speech. Okay?
You'll get tired of winning.
You'll get tired of winning. Okay? Now, as a side note, speaking of which, who do you think is one of the main people influencing a lot of interesting people?
Trump.
I'm just making the point. Do you ever see these huge people that kind of sound a bit like me? Who's their coach? Okay? So, like, I'm just making the point. Him not directly. Okay? Him not directly. But when you do stuff like this, you got friends everywhere. Government, speech writers, you got friends everywhere. Okay? So, because look at the upward spiral. You're running the best parties in LA, second best, but I think the best. Hugh had the best. But you see the point here, right? So that's called lifestyle design. Lifestyle design is saying to yourself, you look at the number of hours that you have in your life, you start getting honest with yourself about what your life looks like, and you know what you say to yourself? I don't want to be negative anymore. I don't want to be pissed off anymore. I don't want to be bored anymore. I don't like this. It's a genuine admission that this sucks. That's what I say to myself. I say, this sucks. Let me say another controversial thing that I'm afraid to release on social media because I believe that it will be cut. Like, I believe that people that don't like me will cut it and make it look like something I'm not really saying. So I'm going to say something intense, but you must hear the whole thing. You must have context, and you must not take it in some crazy, crazy way or go hurt yourself. Can everybody agree? I'm going to say something crazy, but you're not going to go hurt yourself or do anything crazy? Yeah. Okay, I have the belief that only a mentally ill person would commit suicide, but I also believe that only a dumb person never at least thought about it. Okay? So only a mentally ill person would actually do it. Suicide is largely a function of mental illness. For example, borderline personality disorder, about 11% of people with borderline commit suicide. It's usually mental illness that causes suicide. Not always, but usually. I've never hurt myself. But I've thought about it. If you've never thought about it, that is a lack of intelligence. Now, I don't mean to get scary on you here, but here's why I say it. This is why I say it, okay? So, coming from that standpoint, I have a superpower that I think a lot of people lack, okay? It is a brutal self-honesty of how bad my life sucks when I'm not getting it to go well, okay? It's a superpower. It's the ability to admit that you hate your life. And I'm to the point where I can see how much my life sucks when it's sucking. I can see it with such honesty and clarity that I wake up, I'm like, I don't want to, like, I'm literally like, I would do anything to not have to do this. This sucks. I don't want to do this. I don't want to live like this. I hate this. But see, the superpower is not going to get depressed, you know, right? Like, oh, well, then I'll just give up and end it all. I'm not doing that. Rather, I'm taking that as that feeling that you have of I hate my life and my life sucks. That's not meant to be this thing where you just get all despondent and then you kill yourself. That's mental illness. It's meant to be used as fuel because, like, look, if you're running a marathon and somebody behind you is whipping you if you slow down, you're gonna run, right? And then what if you put something you want at the end, right? So you got something hurting you at the back and you got something that you want up at the front. Well, you're gonna run. That's how I think about it. Is like I want a whip at the back and I want a carrot at the front. So when my life gets bad, I don't smoke weed to numb it. I don't sit there looking at, by the way, I'm not personally against porn at all for me. I don't have a problem where like some guys look at adult film, they go to Pornhub, and literally, like, they don't leave their house for a month. Wow. They got a fleshlight, you know, they don't leave their house for a month. So they're like, porn is evil, porn is ruining America. I'm like, really? Like, or video game. I'm not against video games at all because I don't think they're that good. There's a couple great games out there that are works of art that I think anybody should play. I'm a huge fan of Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War. There's other ones that are works of art that I think are worth looking at. I don't have a problem, like, I'm not like, oh my God, like, I'm playing a video game, and then, like, I didn't leave my house for 5 years, and I made my whole world, and I have, like, a girlfriend on World of Warcraft that's probably a man, and I just, you know, just fapping all day. Like, I don't understand that, okay? So that's a real, like, just, statistically, some of you guys in this room have that issue. Maybe I'll bring it up to the front later to share what that's like. I'm fascinated by that. Like, I'm like, wow, like, you can do that? Like, that's a thing? Like, I actually think it's cool. Like, I would think, like, I wish I could just fap and play World of Warcraft all day and get fulfillment from that. I'm actually jealous. My lifestyle is pretty expensive. Like, I gotta do like $1 million party, and like ski every ski hill, and like travel the world. Like, that's my version of fapping in World of Warcraft. Like, it's expensive. So, I mean, if I could really get satisfaction from just sitting there, you know, with like the fleshlight and wow, World of Warcraft, you know, right? Great. I'm jealous. I don't view you as bad. I view you as my hero. You're my idol. I want to be you. Like, I'm a weirdly open-minded person. Like I've read the Communist Manifesto. It doesn't mean I'm staunchly against it, but I'm gonna consider every possible option. I'm not just like, ooh, I'm in this tribe that doesn't like communism, so I could never read Karl Marx. I'm afraid of it that I'll get brainwashed. I'm not like that. I look at I look at vile, horrible things to see if what I get out of it. I'm not afraid I'm gonna start to believe something bad. So, you know, have critical thinking. You know, I see it and I go, oh, that affirms more why I was probably right and this is disgusting. So you know, like, I've tried fapping and playing video games all day. Of course I've done that. Why would I, like, don't knock it till you try it. I get bored. Like, again, the only ones that I really like are, I think Horizon Zero Dawn is worth playing, and I think God of War is worth playing. Now, as it turns out, again, influence everywhere. Oh, fans of mine are in these companies making the game. So, it's like all my favorite things. I'm like, oh, I helped make that. That's cool. I had a guy from God of War come to me the other day, like in tears, like I heard that you loved it, and like I built it with a lot of what you taught. And I'm like, this is so cool. That's a cool thing. But I'm just making the point that, I played Horizon Zero Dawn. And the whole thing in Horizon Zero Dawn is like, it's all this like nature stuff, like you go through nature. And then as soon as I saw it, I went to every single national park almost. Okay, so I saw it. I'm like, okay, I played the game. I want to do the real game. And then I saw it, right? It's like the fapping thing. You see what's on the internet, and you're like, okay, that looks good. And you get out there. So I'm not afraid of, right? I don't smoke weed, but if I ever did, because I'm never going to smoke weed, but if I ever did smoke weed and I felt like, oh, I'm high, like I like that, I would just teach myself how to meditate in a way where I could get a similar high, but without smoking weed. That's all that I would do. I don't know if it'd be the exact same, like syrup, THC in my brain and stuff, but I could make some approximation of it. So I've tried all that stuff. I've tried, like, I've read the Communist Manifesto. Like, am I a communist? Right? Like, let's find out. This is insanely stupid, but I read it, right? Like, I've tried fapping and playing video games. I don't like it. I don't get anything from it. I'm not that easily satisfied. I've tried working for other people. I tried that. I hate it. It's just weird, but for some people, they work for another person, and it's not a fulfilling job. Some jobs are fulfilling. You're an entrepreneur, but it's a non-fulfilling job, and they just go, oh, okay, that's how it is. They try fapping, because, by the way, I like to be outlandish. Is somebody who faps all day and plays World of Warcraft really my hero? No, okay? I like to be ironic, okay? I'm saying that as a joke. I'm trying to make a joke, okay? So, people love to cut what I say out of context. They're like, look at what he said here. He said to fap and become a communist. Like, I'm saying the opposite of that, but, they love to cut it out of context just to make a bunch of crap, right? So I say things as the opposite to get you to consider it, right? So, because, again, if you're somebody who believes in the free market and you believe in freedom, but you never even looked at communism, then you don't really believe in the free market. You're just some brainwashed moron in a tribe. You're a brainwashed moron in a tribe. Like, I'm a Christian. I've read stuff about Satanism. I didn't become a Satanist. If you're a Christian and you didn't read about like sick satanic beliefs and then consciously reject them, then you're not a Christian. You're a cult member who can't think for themselves. Yep.
Why do you not approach drugs with that same perspective? That I could try this because
I grew up around a ton of drugs. And what I saw was that for some people, they're okay with it. They handle it well. It's not a big deal. Okay, I have friends who do ayahuasca once a quarter, and they're like flying. They're doing great. My friend Aaron Dowdy, the guy, he leads ayahuasca retreats, and every time I see him, he just looks like he thinks more clearly, and he looks more awesome. And I'm like, every time I see him, his hair is longer, and he's more cool, and he's richer. Okay, it's like, did ayahuasca, more hair, more cool, more money. What are you gonna say, bro? Maybe I should go to Costa Rica, right? Costa Rica, and trip out. I don't know. But for every one Aaron that I saw, I had to make my own decisions. I saw another 4 or 5 of friends of mine who look like my friend Connor Murphy. Now, by the way, Connor Murphy's videos for me actually became better after he did ayahuasca. I've been acquainted with Connor since before he did ayahuasca. He's the guy who had like a total meltdown after doing ayahuasca. And we were friends. I didn't watch his videos. I didn't think that they were that great. But after he did ayahuasca, I watched all his videos. I love Connor's videos since he did ayahuasca. But he went crazy. So he's having to deal with that. So I have about 50 friends that became like Connor. About 50. So imagine what I think of a hallucinogen when I have that. Bro, look, I'm going to be real with you. Like, my chief marketing officer goes and does a bunch of ayahuasca, can't talk to him anymore. Out of his mind crazy. Instantly. There's other people I'm not going to name that I've been tight with. They use hallucinogens. I can't talk to them anymore. And that's not because, like, oh, I'm so inside the box, I can't see their newfound superpower. It's not that. It's that, like, they roll around on the ground crying. They're having after effects from the drug trip. A lot of, like, really scary stuff. And now they're a wreck. They're a friggin' wreck. So again, like, I don't mean to, I know for a lot of people, psychedelics are like a hugely, deeply profound experience, and I get that, so I don't like to trash it. If you had that experience and it helped you, amazing, that's great. I think it does help people, but I'm just saying that for me, I saw what it did to people. Now the other thing, and here's why I'm unique. What's that? Microdosing? I'm staunchly against microdosing as well. Now, the reason why I want an ayahuasca that puts me in the box.
Right.
I want the ayahuasca where I can go to my account, I want an ayahuasca where I believe money's real. Because I don't believe it's real. And I act like it's not real. Like, I want the ayahuasca that's like, have an ego. I want the ayahuasca that's like, don't piss off your lawyers and accountants and believe that they're real. Because when I'm talking to my lawyers and accountants, I literally believe I'm not talking to a person who's authentically communicating to me. Because they're so deeply inside the box that they're like, okay, and I just see them like puppeted by negativity and by stress. It doesn't feel real to me. It's completely real to me I'm gonna die. It's completely real to me that your ego's BS. It's completely real to me that most people are very stuck inside the box thinkers. All those things that psychedelics give you, you have access to with your sober mind. And that's not me going, drugs are bad, okay? And like I get it that like, it is a different qualitative experience. I'm not one of these guys going, natural high, man. Like, I'm not doing that. I get it that it's different, okay? Like, if you have a natural high like you're on coke, that's probably bad, okay? Like you're not meant to clock your brain that high in dopamine. If you had a natural high like you're on cocaine, you probably hurt yourself, okay? So I understand that, okay? I also know that you're not gonna get as big as you on steroids. But certain things you're also not meant to have. Like, you're not meant to be as big as you are on steroids, because if you are, it's gonna hurt you. And in the same way, if you're as high as you are on coke or high as you are on Molly, that's going to hurt you. You're not meant to have that much serotonin in your head. But see, rather than overclocking your brain with some megadose of serotonin, with some pill or powder that messes you up, God knows what chemicals they put into it too, fentanyl or whatever, instead of doing that and being at this hard 10 and then shooting down and then also losing your grip on what's called reality testing. By the way, reality testing has to be maintained your whole life. Your whole life. So when I talk about things like read some leftist book, that's because you need to have reality testing. You need to look at contrary arguments and have your own decisions. Reality testing is a form of working out, the ability to test for reality. So anytime that you're doing things that's altering perceptions, you might make an argument that that helps you see reality more clearly because it gets you out of the box. But for every little bit that you get out of the box, you're simultaneously also messing with reality testing because there's chemicals in the brain that you're messing with. And also, you have to remember that I've studied the mind for 2 decades, so I've seen a lot, and there's a lot of things here that I can't even talk about because it would scare you, like a lot of heavy-duty stuff. It'll just scare the crap out of you. It really will. Yeah, but I can't say that to a general audience, or they're not gonna be able to walk down the street after.
Yeah.
Maybe, but you'll say that till you don't. But the point being is, imagine the things that I know, having access to high-level government officials, having access to top levels in entrepreneurship and the people that are at the top of the top. Imagine just the things that I've seen, the things that I'm aware of. And then imagine also some of the weird spiritual experiences that I would have had. And just think about the sum of that. And imagine why I might not want to do things to mess with the reality testing. So that's how I see it. But again, I look at Aaron, his reality testing is amazing. So everybody's going to be impacted differently. That's what I would say.
What do you mean by reality testing?
So people live in this false fiction on an ongoing basis. And the problem with that is, like, you have to have a real commitment to breaking out of fantasy and to getting into reality. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but let's actually see how that builds upon what we've already talked about. So when I say things like, when you're taking a crap, how many hours is that? When I'm saying that, that's called reality testing. It's not disassociating from your life and hiding from it. It's you actually looking at your life with clarity and seeing what it is that's happening. So there's levels to this. Now, by the way, there's other layers to that, the psychedelic argument, that I'd be happy to tell you personally if you really want to know, but I can't say that to a bigger group because I will lose credibility with the group. Because the problem is that there comes a point where at 40, like, if you look at a lot of my speeches, sometimes I kind of have this weird angry look. Like, I kind of look like I'm mad. And the reason why I look mad, there's a couple of different reasons, but one of the reasons I look mad is because most of the things that I understand after 2 decades plus of studying this stuff, one sentence that I would say, we would need 50 to 100 hours of prep work to be able to say it. So and then here's the other problem. If I say the sentence and then you believe me, I'm going to be mad at you for believing me. I'll be upset that you believe me. Because you don't have the 50 hours of background work. So you're just believing me point blank, carte blanche, which you shouldn't, because I'm saying crazy nonsense. So you shouldn't agree. And then what will happen is then you'll listen to the crazy nonsense, it'll work, and then what did I teach you? I taught you that if you listen to nonsense that is true because the guy has an audience and talks loud. So now what you should do is you should believe everybody with an audience and that talks loud, and that's how the Second World War happened.
P.F. Skinner.
Yeah, so, what's that?
P.F. Skinner with the pigeons.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So, so the problem is if I tell you the full truth, but I don't give the background work, then what happens is that if it turns out to help you, you're like, well, when I just believe these crazy, dumb, outlandish sounding things, but it's an authority figure, maybe it works. And then now you're going to believe somebody who's not telling you the correct thing. So, like, I could tell you, I could touch on why those things freak me out. But the problem is that the things that I would tell you are so insane. And then that stuff, if it works for you, then it's training you to just believe things carte blanche. But then the problem is that then the rest of the audience hears the crazy stuff, and then they're like, this guy's out of his mind. So my only payoff is like either look like I'm crazy, on half the audience I look crazy, and then the other half of the audience is taught to believe things blindly that will help them. So nothing comes out of it. And then one sec, and then the problem what happened, I want to hear it. And then what happens is, so by the time that you're like 44, you just walk up to the front of the audience, you're just like, right? And then you're literally trying to baby step everybody to those higher levels of knowledge. Yep.
So can't you just give somebody the thing and then have them test it themselves?
No, because then they test it and it works.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that, because I remember once I was at this clear, like, shakedown, scammy real estate seminar. Yeah. And I just happened to stumble into it. It was literally just running at an event. I walked into it. And then I saw clients of mine, and I could tell this was bad. And they're like, I just paid for the 10K program thing, and like I took your program and it was awesome, and it sounded crazy, but I did it, and it changed my life. So now I'm doing this one, and I'm like, no. And that's what starts happening. It starts to train you that crazy, charismatic people with outlandish beliefs that all of it's accurate, but it's not. Yeah. So the problem is that okay, look, I'm not trying to like hold something over your head because it's beginning to sound like that, and that's my regret. But think of it this way: imagine that your job is to always lean into the next paradigm. Now imagine you do that for a month, where would you get to? Imagine you do that for a year, where would you get to? Imagine you do that for 10 years, where would you get to? Imagine that you did that for 20 years, and that you made it your mission to create a network of people who know you in every walk of life, get to the top of the top of the top forbidden information, the stuff behind the scenes that you're not allowed to know, and then you just spend 20 years learning that as like some weird obsession. Imagine what you know. So that's the problem, is like a lot of the higher levels of personal growth are within that framework. And the problem is that then you have people, okay, again, like I'm getting mad now. All right, so the problem is, okay, a little bit of abstract knowledge here that I wouldn't want to share, but I'll just share. It's very simple. They hide the best stuff by capturing it. They take look, the best thing is marriage, but marriage is captured. Do you understand that? Marriage is captured. Marriage is captured. The institution is captured now.
It's like when they changed the names of the political parties back in the day.
I don't know much about that. I'll be curious to hear about it. But think about it this way, okay? Look, what does marriage prevent? It prevents sexually transmitted disease. It prevents pregnancy. How many friends do I know that just are out there casually dating and eventually they get loose on the condoms and then they knock somebody up who they don't want to? All the casual fun in the world that they have is suddenly not worth it. All those hours that you spent dating, meeting new people, if you accidentally knocked somebody up that you didn't want to, wasn't worth it. What if you get some crazy infection? Wasn't worth it. Things like a real commitment prevent people. It also means that you don't wind up, let's say that you can't really have kids past mid-30s to 40s very easily. It prevents you from, marrying at a younger age does have downsides, absolutely, and I know what those are. I'm not blind to that. But it also prevents things like hooking up with people way above your level, thinking that that's normal, but conflating someone who hooked up with you as a boyfriend, but it's not your boyfriend. They hooked up with you as like a side piece, thinking that that's the level that you're on now, and that's your baseline. Having a taste for that now, which gives you this massive dopamine dump that you can't get from somebody who's on your level, and then now you just get passed around from Drake to Leo DiCaprio to Dan Bilzerian and people like that. You wind up childless, and you wind up bitter and frustrated. Now, maybe that's better than just winding up with some chump at 20. I get that too. There's two sides of that argument. You could certainly make a very compelling counter argument. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not focusing on that. But it prevents problems like that. When you're older and you're not that capable anymore, your children and grandchildren are going to mean the world to you. But that gets messed up. Marriage is a great institution. It also gets you to fully buy in. But marriage is also captured. Now, I have friends that are married who have great marriages because they were capable to find great partners for marriage. So I have friends that have very successful marriages and it's working. But the institution itself is captured because of the laws surrounding it. The laws surrounding marriage are designed to break up the marriage. It creates incentive structures to cause a breakup. The church is largely, what kind of things does the average person talk about at church that I talk? Okay, the ones that I've met. Maybe you guys have met different. I've been to churches. I think church is beautiful. I think it's great. But when you talk, the average person that you talk to who's a Christian, are they like if I sat here with you and just created a giant sermon for the next 2 hours, I'd have you guys in tears. You'd be losing your mind. Your brains would be exploding. There'd be like splattered brains all over the ceiling if we just broke down the Bible. But that's not what we're talking about. It's like, do you fornicate? Are you fornicating? Do you give your soul to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Do you? Like, do you commit? Like, do you say right now that you fully commit to Jesus as your Lord and Savior? It's like basically what you're saying is like, do you lack critical thinking and are you in a cult? The average person who is in the church, in my personal experience, is actually repelling critically thinking people from ever going to church because it looks like a cult member. They're like, do you believe in Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior? Are you fornicating? You're like, you're in a cult. Right? And look at this. This is a crowd of very, very well-read people. Okay? How many of you in here have read, say, even just the Gospels? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Put your hand up how many people in here read it. So out of this whole audience, put your hand way up. One sec. Okay, and that's all 4 Gospels and properly through just those 4, let alone the whole Bible. We'll go just the Gospels. Okay, one sec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 people in this room read the most important book in the world because the cult pushed you away from it. Yeah. That's their legacy. Is the church gaining or losing strength right now? Losing. Losing it because it's captured. The beauty of it is, so what they do is they take the best things and they make it look insane. Yes. And they make it look like a net negative. Now, many of you here go to church and you're like, no, I love the church. I don't mean to offend anybody. But if you love, who here goes to church actively? Put your hands up. Okay, so anybody here that goes to church, I don't mean to offend anyone if you love what you're doing there, okay? Yeah, so I know you get value. Well, I get okay? But what I'm saying is, talk to me later, and we'll go through. And I'm not the top. I'm just like some guy. Like I mean, my great grandfather Russell Cook was a preacher, so maybe that's in my genes. But I'm just some regular guy, and I'm reading this. I finally read it, and I'm like, this is what it is. This is real. This is fucking real. What the fuck? This is real. I was angry. I was so angry. Because I wish that I'd read that 2 decades ago, but I never read it. But the problem is the people that read it are so brainwashed that you look at them and they're so inside the box and they're focusing on it at such a surface level. And then it's like they'll be like, do you believe that Noah's Ark happened? Do you believe that Moses parted the Red Seas? And so what happens that any critically thinking person reads that, they're not able to see what's really being communicated, and then what happens is that they're turned away from it. Some quick questions, but I got to keep it because I want to keep on track, not make it a church preacher session. Yep. Louder.
You said the word capture. You said capture.
Capture means that either literally, so keep in mind that I have friends in the State Department. So the things that I hear are insane. And what captured means is that it is either proactively by government agenda captured and turn into a crap show, or conversely, the negative energy that is running people unconsciously just wrecks it. Mm-hmm. And so you get something meant to be beautiful, like the Gospels, and then it becomes this thing that creates wars, this thing that you've got like, say a dude's gay, and then you're like, you're now in the anti-gay thing, where we're gonna train you not to be gay. Like, yeah, let's waste our time all day. Let's just spend months with a dude that's gay. He's genetically born as a gay guy. It's genetic. Okay, no, it's not because it's against the Bible. Okay, and so what happens is that guy's gay, bro. He likes cock, bro. Okay? And so that guy needs a boyfriend. And so and then you're gonna sit there with this guy and be like, we're gonna get the devil out of you. Ah. It's like, that's the legacy of this thing? That's the legacy of this. And so what now I also know the other sides of that equation, like chemicals in the water, the culture, and all that. I get that too. Okay? But the point that I'm saying here is there's people that are gay. And it's sorry to say, like, so what you take out of it, like I know there's like 10% of the audience like, no, there's not. Like, that's not even a thing. Okay? So sorry that you think that. And so what happens is that like you're taking these beautiful messages and you're taking a gay dude and you're like, okay, is the devil out of you? Stop thinking about men and hard cocks. Don't think about that hard cock. And they're like, okay, I'll get the devil out. I'll get the devil. And like, that's what you're using this for? And then it's like, is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior? Is Jesus Christ your Lord? And you're like, Jesus my Lord and Savior. Jesus my Lord and Savior. I did my baptism. Right? And it's like, yeah, but it's like, is that really a part of you? Or are you just saying this thing? You know, people on the far left, they say these things that are tangibly, obviously wrong to just show that they submit to the cult. The right wing has their own cult too, where you say things that are crazy just communicate that I'm in the cult. So capture is where something that's amazing and beautiful, either by law, by institutional deception, or just by sick-ass, low-vibe energy, I guess you call it, kind of a way of calling it, wrecks the institution. It takes the best things and it wrecks it. Best things in the world wrecks it. It's like beautiful food that could help you, put so many pesticides on it, gives you cancer. Gets captured. Okay, so a lot of the best things, my organization's captured 100%. I mean, look at what my stuff from the 2010s represents somebody in the mainstream. Think about that. If you haven't dug into, say, Julian's stuff or my stuff, and all that you got was something from the news, what is it? We have been captured because we are used as a part of a dialogue to represent something that we don't actually represent in the mainstream. We basically are used, that they make a straw man, weird cartoon version. Some of you guys just found out about our stuff, but what happened was in the 2010s, there was crazy media surrounding what it is that we're doing. Look, I take feedback. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. There's things that I genuinely am sorry for, and there's things that I would genuinely change. Like, there's things I've done, you know what? That was kind of very dumb. Thank you for pointing that out. I apologize for that. That's real. Things I would change about what I did, like anybody. But what we were used for as a part of the mainstream dialogue was basically they took something good, captured it, and made it into a negative, right? In other words, taking somebody that cares about life, cares about people, but turn them into a cartoon that doesn't care about life, doesn't care about people. I'm somebody who believes in win-win, but am cartoonified as someone that it looks win-lose. So that's using something beautiful, and then you can take that thing and utilize it within a framework to make something bad. So that's what capture basically means. So a lot of the best things in the world are captured. So, okay, stop and think about this. Let me go even a little bit deeper, okay? What you guys don't realize, so let's say, for example, that you watch Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, right? So you're like, I've seen conservative ideology. I watch Ben Shapiro. I like those guys. I also like people on the left too, by the way. I like Ben Shapiro. I like Jordan Peterson. Great guys, right? You have to understand, if you met the top conservative thinkers, they don't get to have a voice. The top conservative thinkers don't get to have a voice because they understand there's real problems going on, guys. And I'm talking stuff that you wouldn't sleep tonight if you knew. Real problems getting brought up. So what you do to capture the conservative ideology is you make a fake, bizarre argument. And that fake, bizarre argument is something so dumb and outlandish that you can use that to fool people to focus on it, okay? And then what happens is then them winning something that's blatantly obvious becomes edgy and controversial. So they make a fake, it's called the Overton window. Does everyone here know what the Overton window is? It's the realm of acceptable thinking. So they move the Overton window so far away from reality that you have to fight just to get back to basic Overton window, and then you think that you won. And then anybody who has thought that could help humanity beyond too far past that Overton window doesn't get to have a voice. Then the people that are within the edge of that Overton window that's artificially moved to the side, they seem to be representing that group. So for example, right? Like, if you met the real Jordan Peter, and look, I love Jordan. I think what he does is great. I think his daughter's great. I think what they represent's amazing. Or if you met, say, the real Ben Shapiro. Like, I know the real ones. Now, when I say the real ones, what does that mean? Obviously, they're the real them. I'm saying that as a thought experiment. What's the real one mean?
It's like the people who take it a step further than they do.
What the mainstream would think of as like avant-garde conservative thinkers, I know the real ones. But they don't get to have a voice. So the point being, so what happens is, now you get, so Jordan, again, I love Jordan, Ben, I like a lot of left-wing thinkers too, by the way. But they come in, and Jordan Peterson's like, all right, everybody, are you ready to hear the far extreme of a conservative philosophy? All right. Here we go. Little edgy. You ready? Clean your room. He was telling people to be accountable? That's so edgy. Clean your room.
So you're saying basically the extreme ones we do see are the ones we're allowed to see.
The ones you're allowed to see, right? Like Ben Shapiro comes in. He's like, Ben Shapiro comes in, and he's like, all right, everybody, all right, are you guys ready for the great depth of the most important issues of the day? Check this out. Are you ready for something edgy? There's only 2 genders. Like, if a guy with a dick wears a wig, he's still a man. Oh, yeah! Yeah, he's owning it! He's owning it! He's killing the game! Jordan tells you to clean your room, and that guy with his dick is a dude? No way! Well, I've learned about conservatism. Yeah, I know the issues. That's a big deal. Now, by the way, I have trans friends, and I have gay friends. I got mad love for them. If one of my trans friends wants to be called they or she, I will gladly call them whatever they want. I don't care. I don't care what you want to be called. You want to be called a rabbit? Bro, I'll call you rabbit. I'll call you whatever you want, my man. I'll call you rabbit the duration of the seminar just for fun. So I don't care, right? So I believe people should be respected as what they want, but so I believe in that. But what I'm saying is that you don't want to have it to where you think that that's the edge. You see what I'm saying, right? So what happens is that you're getting full, when you guys compare my stuff from who here's followed my stuff in the 2010s, okay? So the stuff that would say maybe help guys with social skills, when you compare what that was, where you could actually see how it's done, compared to what's out now, you see the difference there, right? It's a little bit different. Like, and what's viewed as edgy isn't even edgy. That's not even edgy. That's not subversive. That's not edgy. It's not, okay, do you guys know what subversive means? Let me explain this to you, okay? Subversive means there's an underlying dynamic between the elites and the masses where the elites are disconnected from God, the masses are disconnected from God. The elites cope with that disconnection from God by establishing control and by having relative wealth and power to other people. The masses cope with being disconnected from God by being numb, on autopilot, and being told what to do. It is a sub-dom relationship like somebody in prison is what it is. Okay? Yeah. It's like Big Bubba comes along. It's like, I protect you. I protect you. I got your back. Bend over, baby. Okay? Yeah. So what that is it's a sub-dom relationship. What is subversive is something that says you yourself have agency, are not a victim, and have the ability to elevate yourself. And so that's where things like, I mean, this will sound funny, but even something like having a very high understanding, like something simple, like having a very, very elite level understanding of sales and marketing, even that is actually controversial, by the way. That's true. It actually is. You know those huge companies don't have a good understanding of sales and marketing, right? Yeah. Not at all. Well, you think Walmart is a good advertiser? Bloomingdale, Target, Best Buy, Disney, you think those are good at marketing? Not in the slightest. Coca-Cola, not in the slightest. They are operating at about a 1 to 2%, less than 1% level of good marketing, but they win based on money. They can take billions of dollars and just paste their bad advertisements everywhere to where they brainwash the masses to think that that's the thing that they have to get because it's within the Overton window. So they're not good marketers. So if somebody comes out and learns real marketing and real sales, that is actually something that freaks people out because it's like, oh, but you're not like feeding this sort of Hunger Games dynamic where it's like you have the elites and then you have like the dumbed down masses. And then like every so often the elites just kind of pick somebody from the masses and like makes them famous so that you can worship them. By the way, Hunger Games is a great analogy because it's like, we take someone like Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake. These are people I see in LA regularly, by the way. And you put them on, they get super big. Now they don't get killed at the end of it, but they can overdose from drugs. You ever remember that kid, Jonathan Brandis? He was like in Neverending Story Part 2. He was really famous when he was a kid. He hung himself. A bunch of these young child stars do. It's like a sacrifice. They get put on, they get plucked up by the masses, they get plucked up by the elites, they get put on, and to be fair, look, these people have their own control, but we all know that if you take somebody out of a trailer park and put them on like that, they're not going to be able to handle it.
So you're saying like it's destructive for them because they're being artificially brought
Yeah,
up?
it's
like growing into it.
Oh, I mean, even me, like, helping people to become self-help coaches without having the background in it messes them up. So let alone becoming a mega famous. So what happens is the underlying dynamic is that of no agency. Like I can't build myself up. I'm just going to wait here till I get plucked up at random. If I'm just really good, I'll eventually be plucked up and then put on. That's the mentality. It makes you passive and not active in your own progression. You don't go after the real information. You're not actively seeking out truth. You're not actively seeking out the real information. You're not actively seeking out what would help you. Like, you guys look at me and I'll say things like, oh, I haven't been sick in 12 years. You'll hear that, and then you'll go, oh, okay, that's interesting, and you'll go home and you won't look it up. If I heard that, if I saw, okay, some guy, just some random pudgy little ginger guy was like, I didn't get sick for 12 years, I would be out of my mind, folks, till I figure out what he did. If somebody that looked like me was really good at dating, like psycho good at it, and I saw proof of that, I wouldn't sleep until I could do the same thing. I'd be like, oh, well, he's like this guy on YouTube, and like, no, I'd be like, I'm gonna do that, and I would figure it out. I'd take their programs, I would take other people's programs, I'd read about it, I would test it until I could do it. If I see people that are self-made millionaires, and there's a way to do that, I'm gonna study and figure out how to do that so I can live the life that I want. I didn't sit there passive in my life. What I explained earlier, I built a life that's fun. I want my life to be entertaining. I want to have fun. I don't want to waste my life. You should value your life. Your life is of very high value. Your time is of high value. But you stay, and this is connected to what I talked about earlier. You're staying in this passive daze. This passive daze is why you don't think about like some random dumb thought like, did I have fun while I took a crap? Thoughts like that don't occur to you because you're not even in a gear to consider how to value your life. You're just kind of like, just do the thing, just follow the instructions and be a good little boy or girl, and then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna eventually get plucked out and things are gonna work out. You're not actively taking action on it. Like, when I talked earlier about how I built this really fun life, did every single one of you in here get angry at that your life's not where it is gonna be and you start frantically thinking about how to get there? Did that have that effect on you? That's the effect it's meant to have. Now, you guys know I have a mic going to my camera to save the speech, but I don't have speakers in here. How loud is my voice? I'm not using vocal technique. This is energy management. I also don't get tired, by the way. I mean, I do eventually, but not the way normal people do. I don't get tired. So when you see, like, wait a minute, you can work and work and work and don't get tired? Wait, he's not, I've trained with some vocal teachers, but they didn't do this. Just polish it up a bit. So, wait, his voice can be heard from across like a giant auditorium in some cases, not here, but in some cases. That's what my voice actually sounds like, and I don't know. You guys don't understand this. Your voice is all like mine. I can get every single one of you in here speaking where it booms out to the room effortlessly. You can all be doing it, but you're not managing energy properly because that weird dynamic of being at the effect, not the cause, of not having agency, and of not looking up the things that would get you out of the satanic, sick system, and it's sickeningly a parasite on your energy, body, and soul. That's why you're not like that. So the message is, go outside the box. Now, by the way, even people that I'm a huge fan of, that I look up to as idols of mine, even a lot of that personal growth, it's not hardcore enough. I'm sorry, it's just not. Like, I have been to all Tony Robbins events. I'll continue to go to all of Tony Robbins events. Anytime Tony's in town, I'm going to go. I'm a fan of his. I admire him. I have gratitude for him. But they just aren't hardcore enough for me. They're not. Who has ever been to like UPW or Day with Destiny? Okay, fun, really inspiring, and helps a lot more people than the way that I talk could, because my stuff's too hardcore, right? So that's why I love what Tony does. But like, end of the day, this is how I'm seeing this stuff. You know, Jordan Peterson walks in. And again, I'm fans of all these guys. Clean your room. Ah! A guy with a giant cock is a man. Ah! You know, Tony walks in. He's like, you can live your dreams. Ah! It's like, that's how I'm seeing this. Like, it's so edgy. It's so avant-garde. Like, whoa, man. Whoa, bro. Look at that. Like Tony, like most of UP, and again, I'll go to every UPW ever because I just love Tony. I'd recommend everybody here to go. I'm giving him props. He's like a hero of mine. But like, come on, Tony. Come on, bro. Come on, homie. You know you got more than in the tank, bro. Come on, bro. You know behind the scenes. Tell the truth, homie. Tell the truth. You know the truth, Tony. But why doesn't he want to tell it? Look what's going to happen. He's going to get a lot of trouble for speaking the truth. Right? You're going to get a lot of trouble. He shares what he can. He hits it where he can. Look, I got my limits too. Look what happened to me. Who might even talk? So there's limits to what it is that you can learn. And here's the other thing. Information is the highest form of currency in many ways, by way of looking at it. By the time that information is even allowed to disseminate past the gatekeepers, the pot has been pissed in by more people than you can imagine. It's been pissed in. You're drinking piss. Okay? You're drinking piss. Doesn't that just roll off the tongue? Say it with me. You're drinking piss. Okay? You are. Because here's the thing. Because now it has to go through all these different collectives and groups and you know, are you allowed to say this? Are you allowed to say that? It's been pissed in. So take something like the Bible. There is stuff in there that is so shocking, that is so heavy. There should be verses. If you're seeing the Bible properly, there should be verses where you read one verse, you break down in tears, your head starts spinning, and you sit there twitching and shaking and crying for a day. That's in there. Wake up. But instead, you go with normalcy bias, you go with herd mentality, and you sit there and you're like, and so your version of as an example, the Bible, which is captured, is the Bible's basically like this weird thing that causes wars, causes a gay dude to just get put in a room being told to stop wanting cock. The man likes cock, okay? Can you let him live? You know? You want to be told that you don't want to suck on some titties? Don't suck on those titties. Don't suck on those titties. It's bad to suck on those titties. Don't suck those titties. Don't suck those titties. Think about those titties? No, it's bad. No, it's wrong. You know it's wrong to suck on those titties. You know it's bad. Come on. This is a productive use of our day. Like, let's spend our day. Let's just spend our day. Here's how we should use our life. Let's spend our day like this. Being like, I'm going to clean my room. A guy with a dick's a man. I can live my dreams. Jesus, my Lord and Savior. Now let's go into a war with like some other religion that largely teaches the same general type of stuff. Great people, salt of the earth. But, you know, one thinks Jesus is a prophet, the other thinks the Son of God, so let's just kill each other en masse. Mass murder now. Murder, murder, murder. Death, death, death. Kill, kill, kill. And you stop thinking about that hot cock. Now say, Jesus, your Lord and Savior. Clean your room. That guy with the dick is a man. You can live your dreams. Woo! That's how I see this. It's a waste of my motherfucking time. Okay? And it's a waste of your time too. It's a waste of your life. It's a waste of your time. Life is short. Use it. Okay? If I'm talking about things earlier like as extreme, and it's a thought experiment, okay? But as a thought experiment, when you take a crap, can you audit the number of hours that is? audit what that is and audit how you're using it. I'm not saying, like, because again, some people watch my stuff and they lack the abstract thinking to see what it is I'm saying. They're like, oh, so are you telling me that like this audience just came all the way there to be told that they should enjoy taking a crap? I'm not dumb enough to be brought in by this. I'm more focused on cleaning my room. So, right, okay, so I'm speaking to you when I use sarcasm, abstraction, thought experiments. I'm a little off the wall. I'm assuming the ability to cope with that, and I'm not talking down at you. Okay, I'm in a lot of circles of people that are absolutely brilliant. They joke around, they're sarcastic, they use thought experiments, they use abstraction, all that kind of stuff. They're not just like, okay, let's talk to the lowest common denominator and not hurt anyone's feelings. That's not how they're talking to each other. So I talk to you guys the same way that in the circles that I've run into my time, that kind of people joke around to each other. There's sort of like a more blunt, that people that are accomplishing at a high level often have a little bit of like dark, like a little bit of black humor, a little bit of gallows humor, because when you're operating at a high level, you're just seeing so much crap and insanity that you kind of got to make it funny, okay? So when I say things like audit how you would take a crap, that's not the end, like look at that, right? Like I've been here like clowning Jordan for saying clean your room, and I'm like, so my alternative, audit how you take a crap, right? That's my answer, right? But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this: what you have, the dynamic that I'm trying to sort of like zero you in on here is I'm trying to zero you in on a dynamic where the ways of living life at the highest peak, at the highest levels, are available to you. They are available. But they will hurt people's feelings. And so that information is generally cordoned away from you. How did I use that to build my life? And everybody's going to be different. Everybody has a different way that they want it. I figured out things like how to basically live the life of something close to a billionaire for free. That was something I figured out how to do. I figured out how to live a dating and social life, not as good as Leo DiCaprio by any means, but, you know, a poor man's Leo DiCaprio, but without being Leo DiCaprio. I figured out how to do that for free. I figured out how to do things like just spend whole years traveling, getting around the top people, getting the best information, never getting sick, things like that. Again, I don't teach how to not get sick. I'm not giving medical advice, but that's just stuff I figured out for myself. And then there's deeper layers of things that I'm not even going to go into here, but certain inner shifts or spiritual shifts that I think are more valuable than all of that. But if I'm going to talk about that, I want to really lay down, have a couple day conversation with you. I don't want to just go spiritual. I want to actually like really have a deep talk about it and have content coming out where we really go deep on that. So that, but what it really comes down to is the epiphany that your ability to do what you want, live how you want, feel how you want, have control over your thoughts, not have a parasite running your brain and not drinking down piss, that is actually within your grasp. But you have to actually want it. Right. There has to be a desire there that says, I'm looking for tools, I'm looking outside the box, but I'm also not just believing something outside the box just because it's outside the box. You know? And people get fooled by that stuff. You guys see that Q thing a couple years ago where people are getting fooled by it because it's outside? They literally believe that there was like kids in caves and all this stuff being like, literally there'd be an earthquake and they're like, Trump's digging into the caves to save the kids and crazy. And I don't mean to hurt any of your guys' feelings that believe that, but that's the best example I can think of something that's captured. Like good information, captured. So what they do is they take something good and they capture it. I hate to tell you. So, and how do they use that? They use that to then motivate a bunch of people that believe it to do things that are really dumb and then to use that against them. Do you see what's going on here? They're capturing the best stuff. The best stuff is either captured or pissed in, okay? Now, looping, I don't mean to scare you. Now, looping from there, then what you have is you have to ask yourself, what does it really mean to live an awesome life? And you got to start breaking that down. And as you break that down, you got to say to yourself, how can I live a life that I want? And how can I not have my time wasted? How can I not have my time wasted? So what I was saying before, and I touched on this, but I want to go a little bit deeper on it, was I said, if somebody commits suicide, that is mental illness typically. In most cases, I would guess. I don't know the statistics. But if you never thought about it, all that that's telling me is that you're self-medicating. Because most people's life sucks so bad that without the coping tools, you wouldn't want to live another day. What are the coping tools? Weed is probably number one. Number one coping tool. Like if I had one wish for my kids, it would be don't smoke weed. I would rather my kids would smoke meth than weed. Really? Why? Because meth, they'll eventually quit. Meth, you'll hit rock. You'll ruin your whole life. You'll have no teeth, and you'll just ruin your life, and then you'll stop. Weed, who quits weed? Whoever quits smoking weed? Because it's not that, okay, 2 guys in here quit smoking, because it's not, you quit smoking weed?
Yeah.
Good for you. So,
I'm
The thing
trying.
is, like,
trying.
I thought like, to me, I just kind of treated like weed was like meth on my life, so that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, so you were able to ratchet up a bit.
Yeah.
But the problem with weed is that it has health benefits. It can help regulate anxiety and things like that. It has all these benefits to it, right? But what it's doing is weed is almost like getting a crappy job. It pays the bills, but it limits you from doing other things. So weed is the most low ROI, okay? You have to understand. People say to me like, again, when people come to me like, are you gonna take magic mushrooms? You have to understand, this is like the tourist version of spirituality. This is amateur hour, okay? Look, I don't mean to be weird here, but I want to put this in context to you. There's places that I've been to that are so spiritual, so to speak, that it's past being moved to tears. Like, it's so intense, it's so hardcore, it's so gangster that you start to shut down. Like, your system starts shutting down. Now, what do I mean when I say this? Let me give a simple example. If you don't believe me, go fly right now into Fairbanks, Alaska. Hop on a plane and go on a plane to what's called Gates to the Arctic. Okay? Go to Gates to the Arctic. That is, you'll fly through Coldfoot. You'll land in a small plane. The plane will have all the windows open so you can see everything around you. Go north of the Arctic Circle to Gates to the Arctic. Look that up. Go to Denali, which you can get to out of Anchorage, or you could get to out of Fairbanks, about 3-4 hours away. Fly into Denali, ideally on a sunny day, but really any day would be great. There is things that you will see that will make you feel so small, but that are so beautiful that you have to train yourself to even look at what it is that you're seeing. Now, when I say this, the next question that you should have if you're thinking is like, well, then how do people do this without melting down? They do it without melting down because they look at their phone, because they daydream, because they're not truly present to what it is that they're seeing. I am present to what I'm seeing. I've trained myself to be. So when I go in there and I've got all those little sunglasses off and I'm looking directly into Gates to the Arctic, or I'm looking directly into Denali, or directly into Nepali Coast, there's nothing shielding me, guys. Okay? And it's like how a kid doesn't have a shield, and if you yelled at them, it could hurt them or traumatize them, but if you filled them with love, you can actually fill your kid with love before they have that shield. You will be filled with so much love and spiritual energy that if you don't have that shield there, like looking at your phone and things like that, you literally feel sick because you can't, it's too much. It's too much. It's like people say you can't look directly at the face of God or it would kill you. That is like a lesser version, but still very intense version of the face of God. And if you look at that, like I was there like in Gates of the Arctic, and I was flying with my friend Sid, and I was just like, like it was. I wouldn't call it even slightly fun. It was not even slightly fun, because the things that you'll see there are so incredibly beautiful and so intense. And there's places that you can go that are like this. That is what it means to have a sober psychedelic trip, where you retain it and you internalize it because you're challenging yourself to take that at the highest level. Imagine then going into, say, Gates of the Arctic in the middle of winter, say with dog sleds, northern lights in all full color, not just the green northern lights, which are also incredible, by the way, but the full colored northern lights, having that just bearing down upon you as you're deep with no other humans around, no internet around, nothing to shield you, deep in nature, hearing yourself breathe, feeling the wind on your skin, feeling the sheer volume and force that is your life. Imagine boating right into the Amazon. And again, not staring at your phone, not just complaining and gossiping, but just letting that land. That is the psychedelic odyssey. But that's not $12 from a dealer, okay, or from the dispensary, okay? That's how rich people trip balls, okay? That's how a rich person trips his balls off. And another way, to be honest with you, is seminars. You guys, this is just a fun kind of meet and greet, these free tours that we do, even though I think they're incredible. But you come to a proper seminar, you are tripping your balls off. Even as a woman, you're gonna grow balls that you trip, okay? So, and you're gonna grow some titties, and you're gonna trip your titties off. Like, that's how crazy it is, okay? You're gonna drink your own milk, by the time you're done. And the thing is, those get so crazy. They're that crazy that in the middle of one of those events, I come to you, I'll be like, do you have TDC registration? You'll be like, I think I might. Like, that's how crazy you can get it. Like, when you understand sober shamanism, like you are a shaman, but who is stone cold sober, and you understand those different devices and levers and things to push on and the parasites on people's mind, and you're pulling them off and you're waking them up. That stuff, and when you understand the degree of conditioning that's happened and how to get in there, this stuff is so crazy. It is so intense. And you guys need to understand that this, like, I've learned this stuff from years of studying it, and I'm at 1% where I want to be. Like, I will leave behind a legacy of what it is that I know, but my hope, and I really believe this, that if humanity continues, we'll see if we do with everything going on, but if we do, my hope is that what I do, what I want to be like that 5'8" basketball player from the 50s who's playing in the NBA, who's like that compared to LeBron. I want to be that guy. Like, I will push and push and push and push and push and push and push till I die on this, okay? But I don't want me to be the pinnacle of this. Like, you know how Jordan, like, no one's fully beat Jordan yet? I'm partial to Kobe. I feel that Kobe did. But I love Kobe and I'm way too biased, okay? But you know how most people don't think like Jordan was beat? I don't want to be Jordan. I want to be the 50s guy, okay? I don't want to be Jordan. I want to be the 50s guy. Because if I'm that guy in the 50s, that means that I was able to accelerate the genre so that other people would have what took me decades to figure out, just go boom, like right escalated, and then they take it from there. I don't want to be Jordan where like I outperformed everybody and it's like, oh, that guy was some unique little character, like, you know, things like that. I don't want to be that. I want to set in my, if I live long enough, the things that I want to do are so crazy. And that's what my goal is. But really what I care about is how my sons, or if I ever have a daughter, carry that legacy, or how you guys carry that legacy, or what other people build on top of that. But you need to understand that once you start to see this stuff, you can't unsee it. Once you, like, for example, you'll, even after like something simple like this, you'll never be able to watch a conservative philosopher again in the same way, just based on what I said. You know? Like, every time that you watch Fox News and they're like, clean your room, and like, you'll realize it's a distraction. Okay? Real conservative philosophy is when you think about it, okay, the idea of conservatism, how deep does that go? How deep is that rabbit hole? Can you imagine how deep that rabbit hole is? When you stop and think, pause and consider this. United States was built basically by rebels, by revolutionaries. And it was built by philosophers. Real philosophers. It was built by explorers. It was built by people that were about it on a level that they're ready to die. I'm not claiming to go kill yourself or anything, okay? These are people that boat on, look, what would I have to pay you to take a wooden boat from here to Europe without vitamin C? Okay? You actually used to die from that back in the day, okay? What was that called that you get? Scurvy, right? Look, I'm a ballsy dude. I went to Gates of the Arctic. I ain't going to Europe in a wooden boat. My great-grandfather did that. He lived in the prairies in Saskatchewan. So, on a wood boat, that's crazy. They came on a wooden boat. They were philosophers. They believed in freedom. These are people that if you told them, you're going to have to drink the same BS tea, okay? This tea as in the drink. They're like, hold my beer, okay? Like, compare those guys. Like, we're going to tell you what tea to drink. And look at the mentality behind those people compared to what we're at now with like weed, Netflix, and Chipotle. Okay? Think about that for a minute, okay? I'm not saying to go do anything crazy. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying to go, look, that's the problem also with conservatives is that they saw the kind of revolution that happened back in the day by, going to war. You're not going to win a war to create freedom now, okay? The war now is a political fight done legally and done ethically and done properly within those boundaries of politics. And there's a political system that they had to go to war to put in so that you could have the ability to have a voice, that you could talk and it could be potentially effective. So you don't need to do that anymore. That's over. But, okay, some people feel differently. I don't. I'm a peaceful person. This can be done peacefully. But it's about winning over hearts and minds. It's about allowing people to raise in their consciousness. Now, when you look at the Bible, you look at the Gospels, for example, at the end of the day, the real theme that nobody wants to talk, when they talk about Jesus, they talk about kindness or love or things like that. All amazing, all important. But what's the main thing that he was doing? He was trolling the establishment. He was the equivalent of an internet troll, but thousands of years ago. Now, how do we know that he was a troll? I'm saying this as a joke. Okay, don't be like, you calling Jesus an internet troll? Okay, no, I'm not. I'm saying it to get you thinking. Why? What was he doing? Why did he get killed? Because he trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled and trolled the establishment until all that they could do now was to kill the guy. That is coming from that same frame of recognizing what pockets of power does to people. Now, what did Jesus say as what was he saying the establishment was doing? Hypocrites, what else?
Corruption.
Corrupt, what else?
Virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling was huge. What else? That they were claiming to be helping to spiritually elevate people, but they were proactively causing people to go to hell by creating the same sub-dom virtue signaling dynamic that I talked about earlier. That would be a way of interpreting it. Cool thing, the Bible, there's a million interpretations. I'm giving you a novel one. Very quick, and I'm going to get to the point, but yes.
Add on top, the good example is
Louder.
when Jesus heals the blind man, right? And then the Pharisees totally
Yeah, louder.
put him in a trap, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact verses, but
Yep. So let's keep going. Okay, because you got to have a clear point. So think that over. Okay. Now let's keep going. So what's happening is you're getting. Okay. So I like that you're trying here. Now what's happening is that you're creating an environment of freedom where you're not being shackled, which gives you the ability to ascend. That's the core of it. So the people who created America, they didn't do everything right. They didn't include everybody right away. But they did what they could, even though they didn't include everybody right away. But they laid a framework where eventually we could have inclusion. It took time. But they moved the ball down the field. They didn't get it all the way. And some of them are hypocrites. But they moved the ball down the field. So what happened there, now you have an environment through which you have the capacity for freedom. You have the capacity to understand your own will. You have the capacity to have discernment and to think with clarity and to think for yourself. So America at its core is not just geography. In fact, let me shock you further. At the end of the day, America is always one generation away from not being America anymore other than in name only. One single generation. One generation. Why is that? Because if you win over hearts and mind to think it sucks, it's done. That's all that it is. That flame of freedom that's there, just go look at other countries in Europe and places like that, see what's happening. So that basic flame of freedom that's there, you assume that America will always have that. That is a very, very wrong assumption. In the same way that you can get everybody onto an iPhone, at first you don't need to have an iPhone. Now you can't go to a restaurant without an iPhone. At least for parts of it during lockdown as an example, right? You're a weirdo if you don't have a smartphone. Only a very rich person has the luxury not to have a smartphone, right? Back in the day, if you're poor, you didn't have a smartphone. Now if you don't have a smartphone, it must mean you're very rich because you can get by without it and hire people to do it for you. So in the same way, if people no longer value that core sense of freedom or waking up or their own ascension and their own agency and their own autonomy, if that is something that people will sell out for comfort and to be a sub in a sub-dom relationship, if the majority of people believe that that's better, then America is America in name only. And so what that means, you need to understand this, is that what America is an idea. And it's like, have you ever seen that movie, The Never-Ending Story, where there's Fantasia? And eventually the rot sets in. And, Atreyu's trying to fight it. He's doing everything he can, but he's fighting a losing battle here. And all of Fantasia gets blown apart. And he finally realizes what he has to do. And he finds the queen or princess of Fantasia. And it's just this little tiny light that's left. And he says, is that Fantasia? And she says, yeah, it's just been destroyed to hell. But if there's one person left, one conscious person left, just one, all that it takes is just one conscious person, then that dream is still alive. but they will tear down everything. You will watch them do it. They will tear it down to where you walk down the street and people are spaced out of their mind. They don't know what planet they're on. They will sell their soul out for a hamburger. They will sell their soul for a donut. They will sell their soul to smoke a joint. They will sell their soul to stare at TikTok. Values, easily manipulated, spaced out, half out of it, derped out, barely conscious, and walking down the street in a somnambulous state. That's what you're seeing. And eventually what's going to start to happen is the wheat are going to get cut from the chaff. And you're going to see it where the last few people that believe in their own autonomy and the last few people that care about their own elevation or ascension are going to be what's left. And that version of America, what that stands for, what those philosophers stand for and didn't stand for, that may get moved to some island somewhere. And they will be the last people that care about their own ascension, that value it. They'll be the last people. And they'll be fighting a losing battle. They will be the last people on earth. And they will be of all racial backgrounds, of all genders, of all sexual orientations, because that stuff's not going to matter in the slightest. What's going to matter is people who believe in God, people who believe in freedom, and not believe in God like, Jesus, my Lord and Savior, I believe in God. No, people who have internalized what that means. We could talk about that. But that will be what is remaining. Now, okay, in books like Exodus, that is previewing that. Books like Noah's Ark, that is previewing that. That is the current direction that we are going. That's the current trajectory. Does that mean that it has to wind up that way? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that that's our destiny. But that's the current trajectory. Once we recognize that's the trajectory, then we can begin to move the needle in the other way. But see, here's what you got to understand. People hear about this stuff, and friends of mine will say this. They'll say, well, why worry about that? Just worry about yourself, make money, etc. I think that's true in some ways, absolutely. You know, if somebody's just sitting there staring at problems and not taking action, that's another way. It's just another form of procrastination. It's like masturbatory. It's pointless. But here's what you don't understand. If you enjoy playing basketball and you have a nice court upon which to play basketball, and maybe somebody else built that, well, now you can get better at basketball. So now someone comes to you and says, don't worry about the basketball court. It's fine. Just keep playing basketball. You can't control the court. But eventually that court will get so bad, you're not going to get to play basketball anymore. That's what's going to happen in your own development. For 2 years, maybe you guys want to get better at social skills. You couldn't go out. You didn't have, it's like, oh, just build your social skills. You couldn't go out. Hey, build a business. You can't leave, you can maybe build an internet business, but you can't build a brick and mortar business. You see what's going on there? So if you don't care about that, if you don't care about the situation, then you're going to wind up in a position where it's like, well, just worry about your own money. Just worry about your own development. But you can't, because you're now living in such a crap hole that you can't do that anymore. So now here's the next part of the equation that you need to be thinking about. The next part of the equation to think about is, what is your personal contribution? If you yourself are unconscious, you are feeding that dynamic. So you have to say no to that dynamic. Just repeat the word, whether you even agree with me or not in this talk. Just say the word no to what you don't agree with. Say no. No. That's not, there's no conviction there. Say no. 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 Okay, good. So say no to those things. Now here's where I'd go to even a little bit deeper, okay? So as you're building your life, build a life that allows for your ascension, that allows your mind to expand. Build a life that is awesome. Build a life where you think for yourself. Build a life that has meaning to you. Value your time. Think to yourself, like what I said, somebody who commits suicide is probably mentally ill. But allow yourself to look without the numbing devices at how much your life sucks. If you're not living the life that you want, there should be something in you that says, this sucks. I don't want to continue like this. Now, I don't want someone to go hurt themselves, right? I'm not suggesting that. Again, that's what a mentally ill person might do, and they could get help. Go get help if you feel that way. You ever think about hurting yourself, get help. What I'm saying, though, is that, like, for me, if I look at when my life is not going properly, and now I'm living that same BS mainstream life, unless you happen to genuinely love it, I look at my life and I go, I don't want to live like this. I'd rather be dead than live like this. I'm not going to do that because I can fix it. But I'd literally rather be dead. See, I feel that that's actually the natural state. But what do? We hide from it. We basically live a crap life, And we numb it with, and for some people, porn, video games. Again, that stuff doesn't work for me. I need that harder coca of an awesome life. You know, I need the good stuff, right? I need the good stuff, baby, of a life that's actually awesome. I can't operate with like the crappy stuff. You know, I need the good stuff. So the good stuff to me is living an awesome life. So, and a life of contribution, expansion. So think about it within a framework of what do you really genuinely value in life? And don't numb yourself to the fact that your life's not where you want it to be. Stop. So do an audit of this, okay? We're gonna do some exercises. Do an audit of every single area that you're numbing yourself from the fact that your life's not where you want it to be. Coping mechanisms. Write that down if you have notes. I'm gonna have an exercise of that. Write down every single area that you're numbing yourself. Write down every single area that you're being pimped. Write it down. Where are you selling yourself out? How are you making it okay that you don't have what you want? Somebody who doesn't have the partner they want looks at porn. Somebody who's not as happy as they want needs to smoke weed. Weed's not even making them happy. It's just numbing them. You know, somebody who's not visiting the most incredibly spiritual place on earth, maybe, starts tripping balls. Somebody who is not in a career that they like looks at TikTok to numb themselves out. So ask yourself, what are your crutches? What are your numbing devices? Another question to ask yourself is, are you being honest with yourself about the information that you're getting? Like, remember that idea of institutional capture? Review that idea of like, it's basically, the way they get you is they waste your time. Okay? Arguing about how many genders there are is a waste of your time. Thinking that you're dunking on somebody, if you're somebody who's a conservative, thinking that you're dunking on a left-wing person because you told them about your gender ideas, you didn't dunk on anybody. They tricked you into a game you shouldn't have been playing. That's right. They got you off of what actually mattered. I have friends that if I brought up here, you would walk out of here with your heads exploding if they told you about the deeper, more important issues of life. What I showed you here, for many of you, like that kind of like conservative, freedom-oriented way of thinking, with your soul hanging in the balance, and I barely even gave it the treatment it deserves. It'd be a 5-6 day seminar to even scratch the surface of it. Why isn't the news talking about that? Here's some news. Option A. Some guy says that if he has a dick, he's a girl. Ooh, the news. Great story, right? Whatever you believe about that, that's up to you. Great story, right? Option B. Your soul is being sucked out of your body. Your life sucks. It's ticking down a second at a time. You're part of a sick sub-dom system. You don't know that you're part of it. You're feeding that system, which is creating death and decay, and you will feed that until the walls close to where you have barely any life at all. Like bowling, right? If at a certain point, like say this is a bowling lane, part of bowling is that the ball can roll off to the side. What if we just tighten the lane, tighten the lane, tighten the lane, tighten the lane, to where all the bowling is just rolling the ball up this predetermined track? That's not living. You're dead if you live like that. You're living out of the consciousness just of the body, not of the soul. Why don't we put that as the front page news? So what happens is that all these things that, yes, I think that's an interesting discussion. How many genders are there? I think that's an interesting discussion. I'm an open-minded person. I'd like to hear about the different social conditioning that maybe puts somebody in a box.
But it's never a dialogue, it's just negativity being...
Maybe that, but I'd also even say, let's not straw man it, let's seal man it. Do you guys know what seal man means? Mm-hmm. Seal manning means let's not attack the weakest version of an argument, let's attack the strongest version. The strongest version would be there's some merit in considering that maybe somebody who feels like a different gender wants to be supported in that. That is an argument that I'm open to hearing. Should that be the single most dominant argument that we talk about for hundreds of gazillions of hours, forever and ever 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 and ever? That's what we should be focusing on? And then what Kourtney Kardashian did? So Okay, she's cool. I'd like to meet Kourtney Kardashian, but that's not your whole life. So what it means is realize the deeper, more profound questions of life. Look, you don't have to have my opinion. Maybe you like to smoke some weed. Then smoke your weed. I don't have to agree with you. Maybe you just love the ganj. You know? You got like a Jamaican kind of vibe going, you know? It's like a Rastafari kind of thing. You love it. You're like, I don't need this ginger guy telling me not to jam out to some Bob Marley. That's my thing. You don't get it. You know, Owen. I mean, I kind of do look like I need to smoke a joint when you think about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, let's be real, right? You know, forget about the millions of dollars, travel, best parties, daily. Just get high. Maybe it's a better option. I don't know. Maybe that's what I am missing. I'm open to any conversation, but that shouldn't be the primary conversation. So what I'm getting at is realize the false reality that you're in, right? So for example, there's a lot of powerful conversations around marriage. But what's the main conversation around marriage now? Should you give half your stuff to somebody, incentivize them to leave you, and then spend $500,000 in court to fight them to get your freedom back? That's what the conversation of marriage has become, a lot of that. So they distract you with false conversations, false narrative. The main key is valuing your time. So I'm trying to pull you back for a second and get you thinking here. So again, let's go back to that first example. What I said, even the time you spend taking a crap or taking a shower matters, and I had you drill down on the amount of time that you're spending on that. That's just the tip of a huge iceberg. What we need to be doing is looking at all of how you're using your time, all of how you're using your energy, and all of what you're focusing on. That means that we're doing a budget, baby. It's budget time. And what's the first thing that we're dropping when the budget hits? Because you're behind. Unless you have I gave you my version of what a cool life is. That doesn't mean that that's your version. But unless you're at a point where you're at your version of what a cool life is, you're like that business running a debt. So we're doing a budget analysis now. And what is that budget analysis probably going to cut first? The weenie conversations getting cut. Okay, first we're cutting the weed. Then we're cutting the excess of video games. Then we're cutting the Ben Shapiro conversation. Okay? Then the stuff Jordan talks about, and I love Jordan, just clean your damn room and let's move on from that too. Okay? Just clean the damn room and let's move on. Look, Jordan has a lot more to say. I'm just making the point that, guys, if you only knew the depths of some of these conversations and what you're missing, if you only knew, okay, if you only knew the bigger things going on behind the scenes that I can't talk about, the bigger issues that are going on with the world, and just how hypnotized you are, you would never look at this stuff. But you would only have one priority, and that'd be to wake up. You'd have only one priority, and that would be to wake up and build the life that you want while you have it. That's what your priority would be. Anything other than that is a waste of your time, okay? And so when I'm saying things like, look at how you take a crap, look, if you want to just look at your phone while you take a crap, I don't care, okay? I don't actually care about that. That's not my real advice. I'm just saying that as a thought experiment to get you think of how you're using your time, and then to consider all the fake stuff that you're looking at and thinking about. And the degree to which most of society is designed to waste time. It's designed to suck your time, energy, and focus and momentum out of you. Imagine your life right now if you knew exactly what it was that you want, you knew exactly who it is that you're trying to become, which would be iterated and change as you evolve, but you had a direction. And you just cut all the fat off that budget, energy budget, focus budget, time budget, momentum budget. You just cut it all out, and you just zeroed in on what it is that you want. What would your life actually look like? Most of us don't even have sustained focus for more than a couple seconds. But what would your life actually look like? So let me talk a little bit about how I see things, okay? Let me show you a bit about how I see things. So there's micro level, there's macro level, there's a bunch of different ways that I'm seeing things. But one of the ways that I see things, I'll give you some simple examples, then we'll go deeper on more complex examples, okay? A simple example would be, and I've given this before, if I look at a supplement bottle, and the supplement bottle says, super energy formula, I don't look at the front of the bottle, I look at the back of the bottle, and I see what's in it, and I know what that stuff is. That is a very easy to understand, relatable analogy of being a drone versus being somebody who thinks for themselves. You're just able to look at what you're doing, you see what's actually in it, you're not being told what to think, like, it gives you energy. It's like, actually, well, this thing here does this thing here does that. You just understand what it is. That would be a basic level example. You understand what's behind that, okay? Now let me give you another example. Whenever I'm talking to somebody, I'm not looking at them at their friggin' branding, okay? I don't care about how you brand yourself. I don't care what you say about yourself. I don't care what you think about yourself. I care about what you are, and I care about what you can be, and I care about how I would be relating and playing with that with you. That's what I care about. So, in other words, when I'm looking at you, I am drilling down on what I think is your greatest potential and your greatest strength, but what you think is your greatest strength is not what I think is your greatest strength. And it's going to take me time to figure out what your greatest strength is. What I mean by that is this. Okay, if you guys look at me, and you say, I'll use myself as an example, narcissistically, okay? So what do you guys know me as being good at? I'm good at, say, dating. I'm a veteran public speaker. I have a lot of energy, a lot of outside-the-box thinking.
Sales, marketing.
I've done over 100 million sales, probably a couple 100 million. So I know about sales and marketing, right? Okay, that's cool, right? Still too broad. We're still too broad. Why is that? Because there's still other people that have that. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for like a sword with the sharpest point that is so sharp that you could stab it through a concrete wall, if that could ever exist, which I don't think it does. Okay, because when you drill down on, forget all this other crap that you think you are. You're not. You're not those things. That stuff is garbage. Because there's always somebody else that can do that. Okay? If it's something that is, we've got to get you down to 1 of 1. Okay? 1 of 0. How about that? Okay? 1 of 1. 1 of 0, baby. We've got to keep drilling it down. So if I look at myself, actually, I would say things like, what's unique about me that gives me a broader advantage? I would say the main one is I'm very, 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 very connected to my death. That's what makes me more interesting. That's the main thing. I know I'm going to die, and it's real to me. I don't view this as real. I don't believe that this is real. So because I don't believe that this is real, I am able to do content that other people can't do. I am able to have thoughts that other people can't have. And I'm able to bring something unique that you're probably not going to get anywhere else. Because I know I'm dead. Now, all of you know that you're going to die too, right? But you don't believe it. It's kind of real to you. 99% of you in this room, it's not real to you. So that also leads to your enslavement. So what does it mean knowing that I'm going to die? How does that impact me personally? Here's the way I put it to you. Most of you are seeking the infinite in breadth. You're trying to seek it in breadth. So you're looking to get a bigger ego, get more props, and live a longer life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't look at life that way. I look at life like it's too damn short. I don't care if you live to 130, way too short. Guys, I'm turning 44 in a couple months. It's basically, by way of looking at it, minimum probably half over. Life extension, well, okay, maybe. Could also die in a car accident. Could also get shot. So, life's not guaranteed. You're not going to find the infinite in breadth. You can't. It's too short. So, knowing that it's too short, if you can't stretch it that way, what way should you stretch it? Like that. So the way that I live my life is I'm in a situation, taking a shower. How do you go? Okay? How do you groom and curate your consciousness that you go? Smoke some more weed? Yeah. Teleporting, baby. Training your mind to get more from a specific moment. You have to understand the infinite is in a millisecond. The infinite is in a millisecond. Infinity, your whole life, right there.
Yeah.
Right there. You're dead. You're dead. You are dead. Once you say that, what happens? you deactivate the ego. If you allow it in, if you don't allow it in, then it's like, this guy just yelling, he's dead, he's crazy. Okay? Let it in. Okay? For anybody here that felt that way, let it in. Okay? It's like if a stripper's giving you a lap dance, you can like, turn your head like, oh, I don't care about this. I'm too cool for this. Or you can like get aroused. Okay? They're putting on a song and dance for you. Okay? I'm putting on a song and dance for you here, guys. Let it in. Let in the damn song and dance. Mama made you some turkey dinner. Eat the damn turkey. Put your phone down. Okay? You're dead. You're dead. Okay? Just use an example. Okay? Let it in your mind. Okay? To your ego. You're dead. 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 Let that in your head. Okay? You're dead, bro. Okay? So what that does is it deactivates all this BS, right? Like it's just it deactivates the programming, okay? Because the programming is clinging on to the ego structures. So that sort of deactivates it, and then your brain goes, whoa. Now that's a tiny example, right? Something like, say, going into the Arctic Circle is a bigger example because you can't escape from it. That's like the 5 hour long you're dead, right? Like it's, it starts to freak you out. So, but you're stretching yourself when you're doing that. It's literally exercise. So imagine, by the way, look at even things like school. I mean, I think learning trinomial factoring is very cool. What if instead of that, they made, say that they just put facilities in every single city around the country, and they put facilities around national parks, and they figured out there'd be very complicated logistics, very, very complicated logistics. But let's just say that we somehow figured that out. And now what you had was maybe when somebody's 17, you took a year to see the entire country. You put them on buses, put them in bunk beds, however you want to do it. Logistics would be tough. I'm not claiming it's easy. Put them on bunk beds. They visited the whole country, and people from the city got to meet people from the country. People from the country got to meet people from the city. People that are right wing could meet people that are left wing and really befriend them and know their values. People that are left wing could meet people that are right wing. Imagine if we had a greater vision for the country and where we're going. Does this country have a vision right now? How can you run a business without a vision? 90% of being a CEO or an owner in a business is having a vision for your company. Where's the vision? Where's the common narrative? Where are we going? What are we doing on the ship? So there has to be some kind of a vision. We have to get, if you're somebody who grew up in New York City, you better, I grew up personally thinking that people from the country were kind of weird. Then I was in Atlanta, and my buddy Ray, he brought me out to the country outside of Georgia. And I met people from the country. And I thought it was like some weird country bumpkins. And then I got to talk to them. I'm like, why do they think they need a gun? I grew up in Canada. I'm like, why does an American need a gun? I didn't understand the mentality behind it. Then I met them and I saw how they feel, and I realized they feel differently. But they also don't go in the city and see how somebody in the city might feel. So different people are generally, the highest percentage of people are generally pretty good people. They're not out to get you. Some are, right? Like people with cluster B personality disorders, highly selfish dickheads. But the vast majority of people are good. They're trying to get to the promised land like anybody else. But maybe actually try to take time to understand where it is that they're coming from. Right. So why aren't we doing a bit of that? But instead we're just sitting there dwelling on polynomial factoring. So, who here remembers, I took trinomial factoring in grade school. Who here now, without having it laid in front of you to help you to remember how to do it, can do trinomial factoring right now? Put your hand up in this room. Wow, that's even less than the Bible. So there's an argument for teaching trinomial factoring, which is that it exposes kids to a wide variety of things they could be good at. And then if somebody's good at it, they could go do it in college. There's good arguments for it. I'm not trying to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. But how many of you in here spent God knows how many hours learning advanced math that you currently don't use at all? Put your hand up if you did that. Okay, so all that time is gone. You're not using your time effectively. It's just, that time's gone. You'll never get it back. Now, look, there's a lot of counter arguments to this. It at least gave you a chance to see what you thought of it, which for some people it would work out for them. They would use it. It expanded your mind. It was problem solving. But what if we just reimagined the education system? What is of real value? What if we reimagined it? For me, as somebody that didn't get sick in 12 years, again, can you imagine how I would reimagine things like health and nutrition? And I'm not even an expert. I'm a layman. I'm not claiming to be an expert or giving advice. I'm just a layman that sat at Barnes & Noble reading some books. Imagine a professional, how you could re-envision healthcare. Imagine how you could re-envision the church. The church has become, for a lot of people, not everybody, I don't mean to insult it, or to throw the baby with the bathwater. A lot of people in churches working their butts off. But it has become something of such a joke that we no longer have a day a week to go get spiritually grounded. Imagine that. You guys are going, much like not flossing for years at a time. You guys are going, many of you, years at a time without getting spiritually reconnected. What would a re-envisioning of that look like? A bunch of shaming? Like just this very moralistic shaming school? Where you just shame each other? And then you just see who will like spout back the lines and memorize it more without a real understanding? That's the extent of what this can be. I'm giving the worst possible version of this. There's great versions of the church too. I think if anything, I'd feel bad about it if I saw more of that. I understand that, okay? Easy to criticize, not so easy to create, is it? People criticize my stuff too. I'm like, yeah, let's see you get in there, bro. But what is it that how is that time being used? And where are the people that'll come in and audit that time? There's a lot of government programs that you see that like, oh, I could get behind that, but what else could that be used for? That's money they're just taking from you at the point of a gun, and they're deciding where to put it. Could you think of a better place to put it? How would the efficiency be looked at if we were to actually dig into there? Look, I run a small business myself. You dig in the efficiency where the time and money is going, it's insane. People at a high level understand, repeat this after me, opportunity cost. Say that. Opportunity cost. It's all opportunity cost. And so it's not that some of these discussions or ways of doing things are bad or wrong per se. It just burns up your opportunity cost. Like, what's the real problem with video games? It's not probably hurting you. What's the problem? I mean, I guess maybe your dopamine or something, but what's the problem with video games?
It's not real life.
Just kills too much time. What's the problem with sitting there high all night? It's just killing your time, you know? So in my case, you remember I said that when I'm looking at somebody, I'm looking at the real value they have, right? So what I'm doing, for example, let's take myself, right? Okay, so say I look at my own life. If I'm doing public speaking and if I'm, sharing these different ideas, okay? I know that I'm going to die. So I have different options. I can put most of my time, okay, let me try to explain this to you. Let's pull back even a little bit further. The average person on a social media platform, do you think that they're putting most of their time into quality of content, or do you think they're putting most of it into chasing the algorithm? Okay, most of them is chasing the algorithm. So I have great friends. Here's how they create. They come up with a thumbnail and a title prior to even making the video because they know that will influence distribution. They put most of the time into that thumbnail and they put most of the time into the title. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There's value there. The truth is that you could also hire somebody to help you with that, right? It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. Then what they do is because, for example, YouTube, which if you're watching the future is a video platform, now you're watching this through some AI hologram space immersive thing in some metaverse. But, in this day and age, 2023, they tell me to do this. They go, when you do your video, what you should do is you should give a hook. And then you should blather on about the hook for 4 or 5 minutes, but not saying anything at all, which then increases your watch time. And then you can start to give the information. Even personal growth programs are largely incentivized only to focus on the importance of mentoring, mastermind group, and taking action now. Is mentoring and taking action now a huge part of personal growth? Of course it is, but it's not the only thing. It's one of many things. People that don't get a mentor, people that don't get a mastermind, people that don't take action, they're screwed. They're so screwed. They have no idea. But that's not the only thing. So what happens is that they start spending their time chopping up videos in certain ways, chasing the algorithm, and so on and so forth. And here's what will happen. They'll go do this. They'll put out a bunch of crap that nobody takes action on. Those people will use it to entertain themselves with infotainment that they're not going to apply. Those guys will get some money doing it, but never feel the real self-esteem of truly being at their best, because some things money can't buy, like knowing that you're at your best. You can have $1 billion, but you'll never feel as good as when you're truly at your best, even if you're less rich. They'll do that. Bunch of people will spend hours watching it, not do anything. They themselves will get money for not being at their potential. They'll die. Those people will die. And what will come of it? just a big circle jerk. It's called a flurry of action, but no point. There's no actual point. It didn't move the ball down the field. It didn't do anything. It met some base level desires like a cow has to eat some food and have shelter. It operated at the level of a cow. You want to know some of the most beautiful things in life? Real friendship, genuine, real camaraderie, real art, genuine, real art, nature, real love. That's when you're getting into children. That's when you're getting into the, luckily most people do at least get that one part right. A lot of people have kids because it just happens by accident and they're forced to go down that path that actually benefits them. So why are those things like love, children, creation and art, nature, what do those things have? Real expansion. What do those things have that make it at a higher level than just eating food and having shelter? Even though those things are important too, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What is it about those things uniquely?
There's no point to them.
Speak up.
There's no point to them.
Yes, you pretty much got it. Expand on that. What do those things have specifically?
There's no objective. There's just being in existence.
Yeah, what it is what separates us from a damn animal. And I love animals too, but it's what separates us from an animal. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Is money important? Yes. Anybody who has a bunch of, I'm sitting here with $100,000 in jewelry on. I'm not going to go, money's not important. I referred to you to different ways that you could get these things for free. But, money's important. What I'm saying to you, however, is that there's higher things in life that are of more value than money. It's things that are not just putting you in an animalistic consciousness, or worse, unconsciousness. Animalistic consciousness or just profound levels of unconsciousness. We're spiritual beings. We have the ability to create. We have the ability for love. That's capacities that we have. And what will start to happen is that when you exercise these things, there's kind of what you call unlocks. Just say the word unlocks. Just say that word to remember. Unlocks. There's unlocks that occur that are worth more than any amount of money that you could ever have. So there's certain unlocks that occur. And these unlocks that you get are worth more than anything that you can buy. Once you know what these unlocks are, you will never, ever in your life see life in the same way. You will view your previous life as a joke, as a lie, as BS, as you not even existing. You'll basically view it like you weren't even born. So I want you to think of it, I would ask you to create a context. What would it mean to have a second birth? And what does a second birth mean? Let's pause and think about that. You're like, but wait, I'm born. I was born. I don't think most of you in this room were ever born. I don't view most of you in this room as existing. So when I say you're never born, what might that mean? Just throw out some ideas. Think for yourself. What might that mean?
We're unconscious.
Unconscious. What else could it mean?
Not living to your potential.
Not at your potential. What else could it mean?
Living someone else's life.
Living someone else's life. What else could it mean?
We've never taken the time to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah, haven't taken the time to become, when you think about consciousness, a lot of what that would mean is things like looking at your life. Not just like, oh, well, I'm tired, so I'm taking a crap now, and now I'm taking a shower, and then I'm going to this job thing I'm supposed to do, and now I'm getting high, and looking at TikTok. Like, you're actually reclaiming your life, reclaiming your will. Now, if you've been drinking piss, like I referred to earlier, piss-polluted fluids, that's infected your brain with rot, and you're not in control of yourself, then are you alive? If you're a programmed being, are you alive? So what it means to be reborn is to get back to the point of having access to being a first mover. In other words, acting without being controlled. And what is the only way that we can act as a first mover or without being controlled? In my personal view, the way that I would think about it is that we have spiritual consciousness, infinite consciousness. We have the consciousness of our ego. We have the consciousness of our body. If you're being run just only by the consciousness of your body, you are its slave. Your body's like, oh, I'll give you dopamine for this, and I'll give you cortisol for this. punish you, right? You're a slave. Even if you're winning, but you're addicted on that dopamine and you're afraid of those negative feelings, you're still a slave. You're a slave. So then what happens? How about ego? Oh, it feeds my ego, feeds my ego, feeds my ego, feeds my ego, feeds my ego. But you're still a slave to your ego. You're still being controlled. Now, the truth is, it is very dubious. The concept of free will in general is very dubious. Dubious at best. But a way of thinking about it is that you have that direct creation, that direct access or seed of your creator inside of yourself. You're not God. You're not. God is outside of you, but you have a tiny little spark of that in you. Now, some people might say, no, there's like a big spark. Come on, guys, just go look at the damn galaxy. Go to YouTube, click galaxy, okay? And compare that to yourself. But nonetheless, while, the scope of the galaxy or even the planet compared to you is laughable, we're like little worms. Worms would be little worm bacteria relative to the galaxy would be us ego tripping, like calling yourself Michael Jordan. Calling yourself a cockroach compared to the galaxy would be like saying that you're the Michael Jordan basketball, but worse. That's how low in scale we are compared to the galaxy. But within the small structure is a microcosm. There's a mirror of that energy actually inside of you, even though you're physically smaller in stature and whatnot. That's still inside of you. So you're not God, but there's a tiny, infinitesimally small element of that in you. Now, if that's your creator, do you want to tap into that as your decision-making process? Or do you want to tap into your ego as your decision-making process? Do you want to tap into your body as your decision-making process? Do you want to tap into social conditioning that you blindly accepted as your decision-making process? Do you want to tap into being intoxicated for your decision-making process? Now, the truth is, it's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You let your body just die. Well, that body was housing your soul. So that doesn't mean just let your body die or not have respect for it. Your body is housing you. That's not a bad thing, right? The horses that bring along the cart are your friends. But when allowed to run in any which direction, and now those horses have people prodding them and manipulating them. So now you're not really running it in the cart in the back, in the wagon, and what you're doing is you're letting it run all crazy everywhere. The horses are being manipulated, you're being dragged along for the ride, and you think that's you living. So when we talk about love, or creation, or art, or connection to nature, or giving life, and when we think about that, that is worth more than $1 billion. How do I know? Is that me talking crap? Who were my clients during COVID? How do you think I kept the lights on in the building during COVID? All I did was coach guys of hundreds of millions and billions of dollars one-on-one all day to pay my bills. And I coach tons of these guys. If you ever see somebody who's very successful and you talk to them, ask them if they know me. Ask them if I ever coached them. These are guys that I've coached for years because guys that are very wealthy can usually only be coached by somebody who has the ability to lead them. And I'm the only one crazy enough for the job sometimes because I don't care. I'll fire my rich clients. Guys pay me $30K an hour, I'll fire the guy. If he's not doing what I say, I don't care. But there's not a lot of people that would do that, so they look for people like that. So I've coached these guys my whole life. I coached them when I was young, and they weren't rich yet. Stayed friends with most of them, and now a lot of how I pay my bills is these are guys that I'm plugged in those circles and I coach them. And I see what it looks like. And the most successful ones are usually, or in most cases, the most miserable, negative, and controlled. So I'm not impressed by that in the slightest. I think what they've accomplished in one over-optimized area is amazing, much like how I think that I met Ronnie Coleman, the huge bodybuilder. I think his ability to optimize his body is really cool, but I think he over-optimized. Quick question, and then we got to keep these quick.
Coach them how?
Typically during COVID, because you couldn't go anywhere, I coached them one-on-one over Zoom or over WhatsApp, just on video.
Like a mindset? Or?
Everything. Some of them I actually taught how to do organic traffic because they're useless at it. Many of them I actually taught in dating. Many of them I taught in social skills, confidence, spiritual growth, and for many of them I was a therapist. So a lot of those guys, they don't, everybody wants somebody who can actually help to lead them and help give them direction, but they're so used to yes men being around them that they need somebody crazy, and I'm oftentimes the only one crazy enough. They'd either have to have someone richer than them or crazier than them to give them direction. So I'm the crazier one. So yet many of them envy my life because they don't live their own life. Now, what I'm trying to get at you for here is, and these are also guys that I coach in dating when they're young. Like the most famous of the most famous, the most famous are guys that I taught their boot camps back in the day. It's so crazy, bro. Like the people that I coach, it's so crazy. And I'm friends with them now, but we keep behind the scenes. So as soon as you start mouthing off, then other people don't want to come and do your coaching, right? Because you start mouthing off and bragging, then that's signaling to them, don't do business with that guy. He'll just start boasting and bragging. Same reason I don't ever trash talk anybody, by the way. You guys ever notice that I never trash talk people that trash talk me? You want to know why I never do that? Because when those are your clients, as soon as you start trash talking someone, they're worried that if you have a falling out with somebody in business and then you trash talk them publicly or even feel the need to defend yourself, somebody who's thinking of doing business with you and pay you very, very well, they see that you'll trash people that you have falling out, so they say, I don't want to do business with them. I mean, take me. As soon as I see somebody who does social media and they have a falling out with somebody, they start trashing them in the public, I don't want to go near them because I don't want to be involved in that. So whenever you see somebody trashing, they're taking the little dopamine hit of venting to the internet of people who don't even know them, but there's no way that somebody at a high level would ever do business with them. Even if they'll lie and say that they wouldn't. No way somebody at a high level would do that. Quick one, and then we got to keep going.
So you said that life is really about optimizing the fun parts.
Well, I'd say that's a part of life.
Yeah, so like, let's say for example.
And by the way, and I want to hear your question, that is also a spiritual thing. If God created a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner for you, maybe you should eat it. Right? Maybe you should eat the damn turkey. You know, if you made me a beautiful Italian dinner, and then I sit there staring at my phone while I'm eating it, how would you feel as a creator of that dinner?
Pretty shaky.
Okay, say that you're a parent and you do all this to pay for your kids, and they're miserable. How would you feel?
Pissed off.
So what is the best thing that your kids could do to thank you for giving them life?
Focus on the dinner.
Have fun, grow, focus on the dinner, and take it in. If God created Denali, maybe you go see it. So I view that as an obligation. That is a spiritual contract and obligation that you have to be happy and to enjoy life. It also means to be willing to go through pain and not just go, only happiness, like an addiction, and like you're weak, but you shouldn't be aiming to, like, look, I don't mind proactive pain. If you're like an athlete or a meditator or, you're creating something like a proactively chosen pain to engage more. Pain can be to engage more. But what I'm talking about is the kind of like you're in a bad mood all the time because it's just your default. It's just easier to be in a bad mood and complain. Like you're on a beautiful trip, but you're just complaining because you just let your autopilot run wild.
Yeah.
And because you're asleep. Yeah, and then to finish your question.
Oh, so like let's just take an example. Like you want to apply for like the most fun job or like the most fun career you want. So you apply for a job, and let's say you don't get the job. You want to.
Yeah, I never applied for a job anyway, but keep going.
Just like an example, right?
Yep.
You apply for another job that you think is going to be way more fun than your current job.
Yes.
You don't get that job, and now you're feeling like a little bit more down. So how do you optimize for a fun lifestyle?
But that's what I was saying is that most people, they feel down and they get high. I feel down and I feel miserable. And then that misery coalesces into me raising my game and to getting to a point that I'm happy. How many of you guys, were maybe dating somebody and you really love them, but you're just a little too beta and they just left you or cheated on you or dumped you? That there, if taken the right way, can be so incredibly transformative. It's so incredibly transformative. You will literally slingshot yourself so far past that person that you were dating that you can get people way better than them because you absorbed it and didn't numb it.
But that pain still won't be a fun experience, right? So how would you still have fun?
So that's what I'm saying is that let's be clear about what I'm saying, okay? I'm not saying have fun at the expense of personal responsibility. What I'm saying is that you have look, I'm 40, okay, look. So here's like a fun example, right? Like I live in a fat mansion in Hollywood Hills, okay? So I teach social skills. Right. So some people will say, well, if you have a fat mansion in Hollywood Hills, but you teach social skills, I don't know if I could learn from you because I don't have a fat mansion in Hollywood Hills. Now, let's ignore that I was traveling, living on couches, floors, slept in bathrooms because the room was so packed, slept in closets, some closets in a mansion, but some closets in a crap hole, that I did that for years and still was winning socially. If I'm 43 or 44 and I can't figure out a way to live in a cool crib, that means I'm dumb, bro. How old are you?
Like 25.
You're like 25 or 25? Okay, so you're 25 years old, right? You're not supposed to have all that figured out yet. Some people do. I have friends who do, like Marcel, but most people don't at 25. That's fine. But like, and it's also okay for you to be a bit miserable. Sometimes you're 25, bro. You're like a kid to me. But, you know, I have friends that I'm older than me, I'm a kid to them. So it's okay if you're a bit miserable. But if you got to mid-40s and you haven't figured it out yet, you messed up. You messed up. So that's meant to be figured out. Like, you got to be starting to figure that out by 30, decently figured out by 35, mostly figured out by 40, and 100% figured out by 45, 50, right? So what I would do is I allow that frustration. In the same way that if I go to Gates to the Arctic, I don't distract myself from the beauty of it, which is intense. When I'm in misery, I also don't hide from that misery. That misery, the system wants you to numb yourself to the misery, okay? They want you to numb yourself to the mystery, and that was a Freudian slip. They want you to numb yourself to the larger mystery of life, but they also want you to numb yourself to the misery that could actually help to transform you.
But you still look for fun stuff even in the misery.
Not necessarily in the sense that, like, in that moment that I blew it and my life sucks, I want to fully embrace that, use that as fuel, get out of it, and then start having fun again.
Got it.
Yeah. So when I talk about not having fun, I'm talking about that within a context of how the majority of people just default to not having fun because they're just too lazy to have any mental control. And that because there's a lot of negativity and pain body in society, you just kind of default into that state. So that's what I'm sort of getting at there. Now, and quick question, but I got to keep rolling, yeah.
Wouldn't you agree you could also learn to strive joyfully, though, as like a skill within itself?
Yeah, 100%. That's actually what I'm getting at. Yeah, have fun. That's what I'm getting at.
Through the pain.
Yes, but notice the case here, okay? So yes, have fun and have it through the pain, but another form of that slavery is entrepreneurs that just say, I love what I do and I just work all the time. They are just as brainwashed. I'm telling you guys, I've met them, I know them, they're brainwashed. Here's why I say, look, we're all brainwashed, okay? But that pocket of them is brainwashed. Here's why I say it. If you're gonna tell me that all that you wanna do all day is build Facebook ads, and that you just love building Facebook ads that much, that you love what you do that much, that for the rest of your life, you're just gonna build Facebook ads because you love what you do. What you've told me is that you have literally sacrificed all the beauty of the expansive experience of life, rewired your dopamine system just around Facebook ads, which probably, you know, in your 20s and 30s could maybe make sense because you'd get more done. But if that's all you do, if that's it, that's all you do, then you're messed up, right? I have some famous friends of mine that did a video. It's two of the top guys in business on YouTube, both my great friends. And they did this video where they're like, I even want to work on Christmas. Christmas sucks. I just want to work on Christmas because I love what I do. And if you love what you do, you should need Christmas. Where's that a point? Where's that not a point? There's a point there, and then there's a mistake there. Where's the good version of that? Let's steel man it. What's the steel man instead of the straw man? What's the steel man of that argument?
The hustle.
The hustle, what else? Come on, guys.
Doing something that
What's the steel man? If somebody says, I don't believe that you should need Christmas to take off because if you like what you do, you know, you don't need Christmas. What's the steel man? There's a point.
But they like what they do so much they want to do it every day.
That, but what else? Okay, here's the answer. The answer is this. Somebody who's miserable, who doesn't like what they do, needs a birthday, needs Christmas, and they're waiting to have fun until those days. That's the good version of that argument. It's actually a very good version. For example, I go out a lot and have fun, so I don't really care that much about New Year's. I jokingly call New Year's Chode's Night Out. Okay? That's the good version of that. Right? It's like the same club that costs more money and a bunch of chodes out. The downside is that they have rewired their brain to the point that all they can do now is just be on autopilot working. All they're saying is, translation, I've adjusted my unconsciousness to just work all the time. I can't even enjoy a day off with my kids to look at them smile at some presents or take a day off to go and just, you know, kick it with my friends. On a day that we have collectively in society decided is a day off for us to go kick it and raise the vibe. You see what's going on there? Let me tell you a story when I realized that I was doing that. I was that guy for decades. All I did was work and work and work. I love what I did, but I worked. And I said to my buddy Jesse, I told the story in another video. I said to my buddy Jesse, I said, I'm headed to Jackson Hole, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to shoot some videos while I'm there. And he said, bro, why don't you go skiing? I said, no. I'm going to be just shooting videos all the time because every single day that I'm in Jackson Hole, I could be shooting videos. I don't want to just, mindlessly go up and down a hill. I want to build the business. He said, that's kind of why me and the boys don't kick it. Now, these are all self-made multimillionaires, kill it in dating, kill it in everything. They don't need me for anything, okay? These are the kind of friends I hang out with as peers. They don't need me for anything. So all guys that are loaded, killing it, total alpha, total dominating. And I know a lot of people like this. And they go, that's why a lot of us don't kick it with you anymore, right? Because a lot of them funny enough, a lot of them attended my programs when they're younger, use those things to become rich, to get better at dating, and now they're older, and they've had success in their own right beyond what I taught them. So he said to me, that's why me and the boys don't kick it with you anymore. And I'm like, well, what do you mean that's why you don't kick it with me anymore? He goes, because you're kind of a loser. I'm like, what do you mean I'm kind of a loser, right? And he just tells it like it is. He goes, yeah, you just work all the time. It's like you just bring around the flying monkeys. In other words, like I've got like a huge staff with me. He likes my staff. But the point is, he's like, they're just filming me. Like the way that they would relate to it is just a bunch of guys filming me and doing what I say because I've employed them. So he's like, yeah, so you're just going to roll in here with the flying monkeys. You're going to work the whole time. You're not going to come kick it with us. He goes, you're kind of poor. He's like, you're the most broke millionaire I know. You're so poor, you can't even go skiing. You can't even take a day to ski. You can't even take a day to come kick it with the boys to put the damn camera down. You're broke. Now I'm sitting there as a multimillionaire, feeling pretty broke. And I said to him, you know what? I'm going to ski. You're right. I'm going to ski. You're right. He's like, yeah, I'll believe when I see it. You let me know. You shoot me a little phone video when you do that, bro. I'd like to see you put down your work. I didn't put down my work in decades. So I went skiing, and I got to tell you something. It was really weird. My brain couldn't process it. I was like, what am I doing? There's no point. What's the point of this? I don't see the point. I'm going up and down a hill. I don't see the point. So guess what I did when I realized that I had that problem?
Skied them all.
I skied for 5 months straight every single ski hill in all of America. Until I tore my ACL. Okay, yeah. So I actually did that. But I actually took off, I took off like 5 months. I just skied every hill. Because I realized, I'm brainwashed. I'm so broke I can't even ski. Right? That's called brainwashed. So that's what I realized. And I have a lot of friends like that. It's another way, winning and being a multimillionaire or crushing in dating socially or all that stuff, even travel, a lot of that stuff is another form of unconsciousness. But by the way, just ski is not working. That's just another autopilot too, at a certain point, right? There's diminishing returns on that stuff. So it's just other forms of unconsciousness. Now, that's what I'm saying. When I talk about building a fun life, let's loop back to that a little bit. When I talk about building a fun life, look, there's two different ways that you could interpret that. One would be the lowbrow way. The lowbrow way of saying live a fun life would be shirk responsibility, shirk your duty, don't push yourself, and just do leisure, right? That'd be one way of looking at it. Did anybody here feel that when I said I just want to live a fun life? Anybody here have a inkling, like what's he saying? You can tell me if you did. Yeah, a couple of you guys did. It's a little bit like this. Here's how I could explain it to you, okay? So, have you guys ever heard people where they'll say, the best way to grow is like, don't be out at the club, like getting all drunk, hooking up. You ever seen like memes like that on the internet? That's like a common meme, right? Like, don't just be out at the club, getting wasted, hooking up, right? Well, I mean, if you're an NBA basketball player who's famous, and if you're say you're Kobe Bryant, right? And you have a choice between show up at the club while hundreds of groupies line up to hook up with you, and then you get wasted and just run through all the groupies in this sort of passive experience, versus you could work on your craft and win 5 championships, then yes, that is true. But if you're somebody who doesn't get attraction from most people who you talk to, and who is nervous to go and talk to somebody, and who is introverted, and who doesn't have those skills, and that walking up to someone who you don't know is the scariest thing that you could ever do, that you don't know how to joke around, you don't know how to carry yourself, and you don't get attraction from most people who you meet, and it's terrifying, and it's out of your comfort zone, is that you being lazy? That's the hardest thing that you could do. That's a major work ethic. So if you're Kobe, but see, these people, they all want to think they're Kobe. This is the narrative they use. There's all these like promiscuous people out there, and you just go in there and it's just like this pit of promiscuity. And you become undisciplined and lazy, and then you hook up with 100 people. Right? Like it's like this big pit where everyone's rubbing on each other. You didn't want to work, so you just jumped in the pit and just started rubbing everywhere and hooked up with all these people, right? That's sort of like the narrative. They want to imagine it like it's this pit of promiscuity, there's no proactivity, and that like the default is all these people are lining up to take you home, but that you're resisting with your discipline. These same people couldn't even walk up to start a conversation for someone in a bar. They wouldn't even know how to walk up to someone in a bar and say hi. Most of the same people that are saying that, but they want to believe that they're Kobe. Like all these people are just waiting for me, lined up for me to just hook up with them, but I won't do that because I'm disciplined. Stop. You're in your comfort zone. 100% you're in your comfort zone. 100% you lack social skills. 100% the same skills that you would use to become more attractive would help you in your general life, and it would show you some courage, and it would show you some awareness, and it would teach you some social calibration. But you're choosing just work, and be an automaton. You're not out of your comfort zone. Stop. So it depends on how you're looking at it, right? So one side is lazy, one side is proactive and awake. Same thing with just having fun, okay? So just having fun taken from within a context of, just have fun within the context of, say, be lazy, be undisciplined, have low responsibility. That's the lazy version. What I think of as just have fun is the very focused version, which means money isn't enough. So it really means two things. Number one thing that it means is this. It means that you do the math, and unless you have a genuine pathway to get your life back to being fun at some point, it's the wrong path. So I wanted to live like somebody with $300 or $400 or $500 million. I didn't see a current pathway to doing that. So I said, how can I be strategic and play the chessboard properly, get the exact same lifestyle? My buddy who had that business that does $300 million a year in rev, I have a more fun life and a more prosperous life than he does. Just by using the resources at my disposal and playing the chessboard. It's with social connections. It's with helping the right people. It's with being strategic. You can get all those same things, okay? Most expensive things that you see that I have, I never had to pay for. Okay? All those things that you see. Is it Gucci? Is it Dolce & Gabbana? Is it Tom Ford? The people in those stores are fans. There's ways to get that same life. Wake up. If I wanted to, I could have custom fashion designers just design me the exact same clothes that I want. Look, this stuff is like David Yurman. I have friends in the jewelry industry that if they wanted to, could take the same stuff, print it for 10% the price. They could just print it. Cartier, those bracelets with diamonds on it, Cartier? They could take those. Now, by the way, do you think that Cartier is using the best possible gold and diamonds in their stuff? They're not even. The real Cartier is the better one. It's not. I could get the same bracelets done at a little bit higher quality level at 10% the price. Why? Like 100K in jewelry, I could get that for like 6, 7K. Why can I do that? If I wanted to. Why?
Social connections.
Social connections. There's more. You don't necessarily need to get 300K to buy the Cartier. You could get it for free. You can play the chessboard properly, right? So does that sound fun? Yeah. It's fun, right? Yeah. But what I'm saying is this, is that that's a proactive thing to make those connections, to make those friendships, to add value to other people, to use modern social media tools to do that. It's all strategy. So you're playing the chessboard properly. So number one thing when I say that it's about having fun is you're not being lazy by being a billionaire. Does that make sense? You're not being lazy by making $100 million. That's lazy. Making $500 million is lazy. Why? Again, I'm totally messing with you. Are you seeing the pattern here? Okay, usually I do this in videos, I don't explain the pattern. I just expect you to get it. Am I really saying guy with 500 million is lazy? No. Okay, people are so dumb. They're just like, hey, what are you saying? They can't see that what I'm doing is a thought experiment. What would be a thought experiment for why saying somebody 500 million is lazy? Because I have clients like this. Some of them are dead from suicide, by the way. That's also why I'm real about this. A drug overdose, too. So why would I call someone with 500 mil lazy?
It's a socially acceptable path to success.
Socially acceptable path to success, and what else?
Is something duplicable?
They only worked on one part of their life.
Because, yeah, in the end, they got the money, but they're not happy. That's lazy. That's lazy. That's lazy. It's if you just sat there, you're like, okay, I'm going to build Amazon, and I'm just going to sit here all day just growing and growing and growing this, you've gone back into autopilot. If all that you did is you're unconscious and you went back into autopilot and just sit there in an autopilot days, working around the clock, not conscious, and not actually minding your own happiness, and then saying, well, I just love to work, I love to work, and you do that, that's lazy. You're being lazy. So what is a level beyond that? What is a level beyond that? That's not lazy. Think.
Enjoying your life, enjoying your money.
Enjoying your life, enjoying your money.
Actually trying to grow yourself or others.
Try to grow yourself and others. What else? Participate. What else, guys?
We're creating a balanced life.
Yeah, but by the way, that balanced life, again, that can also be an excuse not to hit your potential. So again, that has there's the good version of balanced life and the bad version of balanced life. But what it means is this. It's actually a lot of proactivity to choose to be happy. In the same way that they frame hooking up as this lazy thing, oh, there's just this pit of promiscuity, and you just fall into it, and you hooked up with 19 people. There was no proactivity involved in that skill. It's just there. They frame happiness like that. Oh, you're just you're just lazy because you're happy. No, somebody high on drugs is not actually happy. They're high. They're intoxicated. Somebody just playing video games is not happy. They're hiding. So happiness, what it really means is you've really kind of taken control of the vehicle. There's a lot of conscious effort that goes into that. So, I've dated people that are like, I don't like that you're just happy all the time. You can't be real. I don't see it that way. I see it that they're lazy. When somebody can't be happy most of the time, it's no different than, as Jordan Peterson would say, a messy room. It's just a messy room in your brain. That's all it is. It's a messy room in your brain. You just didn't take the time to learn how to be happy. You didn't look at your life. You didn't pull it apart. You didn't dissect it. You didn't look at it closely enough. You didn't think outside the box. You didn't think strategically. You didn't get the right mentors, part of it too. You didn't get the right mentors. You didn't get around the right people. You didn't look at things with brutal honesty. You didn't allow the pain of how much your life sucks to make you feel like, damn, I don't want to live another day like this, but then rather than getting depressed and offing yourself, using it as fuel to fix it, because the resources are there, you fail to do that too. So it's just straight lazy. Your life is very short, too short. You only have so much time to enjoy it. So ask yourself how to optimize that. That is the key to everything. Now, what I've tried to get at you here is I've tried to get you to think of a broad number of different ideas. So let's review some themes here, okay? So, opportunity cost, distraction, fake narratives, failing to have real scarcity on your time, failing to pull back from your life and really, really look at it, failing to design it at a highly proactive level, figuring out what's your real joy, figuring out what even joy actually is, like even understanding what joy even is, not just being high and medicating yourself, not resonating with that, thinking about the larger structure of society in and of itself and the fact that we could be running out of chances to really develop because we're going into a horrible, horrible future potentially, saying no to that horrible future, participating in the creation of that future, being an example to other people, showing other people not by preaching at them, but by being a living, breathing example, seeking out deeper forms of spiritual awakening, looking deeper at things like profound texts that are out there, and not just looking at them at a surface cult level, realizing that's a captured way of thinking, and actually finding the deeper truths, letting the deeper truths in. So in other words, just like we let in pain that can propel us into a better life, allowing beauty in and realizing that that's actually a challenge. Like letting in your pain is a challenge, but letting in joy and beauty is also a challenge. Again, I went to the Arctic Circle. That was past my skill set. I couldn't do it. I was like, wow, I failed the test. I'm going to have to come back here 10 or 20 times to be able to really let this in. Nepali coast. I really feel that most people I bring to Nepali, you can see them doing it. They start staring at their phone, they start complaining, they start gossiping, they can't let it in. Go to Nepali Coast in Kauai. Go to Denali in Alaska. Go to Gates of the Arctic in Alaska. Drive the circuit of Anchorage to Seward, back to Anchorage, up to Fairbanks, up to Valdez, back to Anchorage, whole little loop. Go to Juneau, go to Trace Jarron Fjord, go to Glacier Bay, go see these things. Go see the country. Go see the world. Get tapped into what it means to have a deeper intelligence, not just the intelligence of the ego, not just the intelligence of the body, but the intelligence of the soul. Stop looking for broader and more to find out who you are and to find emotional equilibrium and to find depth. Find the infinite in a millisecond. Audit your time and how it's being used and say to yourself, what are even the most mundane parts of life and how can I make it fun? How can I make a sneeze or a cough fun? That's real math. Do some math on how many hours of your life you'll spend coughing. Right? That's real math. And when you do that, now that sounds insane. It's not that I actually think that you, although it wouldn't hurt to do it, by the way, probably help you, probably get more value from that, a lot of other things to do in life. I'm saying that because if I tell you to audit how much time you're spending having a cough and how to enjoy it, I'm trying to take you so far out of your Overton window that you'll think, well, maybe things that are larger wastes of time. Because if I tell you, it's like if I bring a guy to the front, I say be super duper crazy loud, he'll talk like 20% more loud. So if I tell you to value a cough, you might not actually take that with you after the seminar, but maybe you'll start to value areas that a lot of your time is going. So I'm trying to stretch you here, okay? I'm trying to get you thinking a little bit outside the box. So start to value those things and start to ask yourself, what are the larger conversations that you're not having? What are the larger, more profound conversations that you're not having with yourself? You remember I said that it kind of sucks that humans don't have a place anymore? I mean, they can choose to go to church, and if you love it, you love it. But, a lot of us humans, we don't have a place to go anymore once a week to get in touch with what's going on. And that we need to create a modern version of that. Now, people in the old school church will say, no, you're not respecting what we're doing. I'm not trying to disrespect it. But everybody learns in a bit of a different way. Every generation has their own version that keeps being up to date. Now, we don't want to lose the baby with the bathwater, lose the core. But if almost nobody goes to church anymore, I mean, you can be like, say it, you can say that all you want and isolate yourself from everybody and just lose the world. That doesn't mean to include every single negative viewpoint or negative habit and make it all right, but it also doesn't mean that things that right now is the optimal situation either. Look at something as simple as just me chatting here for a little bit and getting you outside your thinking. Just a little old guy sitting at the front ranting a little bit. And we're at a 1 out of 10 of what we could really do. At an 0.1 out of 10 of what we could really do. That's just the best that I got if I come in here for a quick rant. So coming from that standpoint, you're so distracted. And it's so scary. And your life will pass by so quickly. And it will be gone. You're dead. So that was the major lesson that I want to leave you with. And we're going to go into some more exercises to drill this in deeper. We have some more time here together. But every time that I pop in here, I want to share, I want to rant, I want to free associate. And my goal is with the tiny little bit of time that I have with you here, I'm trying to get you as deeply and profoundly outside your autopilot as humanly possible. So if this helped you to get a little bit outside your autopilot, if I was able to provoke you and poke at you and challenge you, maybe even say things that I don't even totally agree with, just to poke at you and get you thinking, to get the engine going. If we accomplish that in the short amount of time that we just had right now, that was the goal that I came in here with. And I poured my heart into it. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. That was fun. Thank you. That was cool.